Chapter 1. Babysitting the Uchiha. Third POV. A fox-masked ANBU knocked on the wooden door that belonged in the Hokage's office. Though you couldn't see it, his face was emotionless, hidden behind his fox mask. "Come in," said a muffled voice that came from inside the office. The fox-masked ANBU opened the double door and walked in, bowing to the village leader. The emotionless ANBU began to report his mission he had just completed to his leader. When he was done, the Hokage nodded and suddenly ordered, "Take off your mask." The blonde-haired ANBU did as he was told and took his mask off, revealing 3 faintly marked whiskers on each side of his cheek and ocean blue eyes that sparked like sapphires under the light. "I have a new mission for you, Naruto," the old Hokage said to the young ANBU. "I'll be blunt," he says. "I want you to go undercover as an academy student to protect Uchiha Sasuke." The boy stared blankly at the man standing in front of him. "What?" The now identified Naruto suddenly shouted at the top of his lungs. The village leader sighed. Naruto could scream louder than a certain pink-haired banshee if he wanted to. "Why?" The young ANBU yelled again, but not as loud to give the old man's ears mercy. "Sasuke is the last Uchiha remaining in Konoha after the massacre. Because of this, he'll be targeted, especially around the time when he graduates." The Hokage said stiffly, "I'm an ANBU, not a babysitter." Naruto rolled his eyes. The Hokage sighed at the blonde, knowing he would eventually give in, which he did, reluctantly. The little ANBU started rambling on and on about why he should be doing real missions instead of babysitting an Uchiha brat whose pride is the size of the whole entire village. "Can you shut up? I'm trying to sleep," a tired voice complained in the back on Naruto's mind. "So you're finally awake?" the blonde replied sarcastically. "I am, thanks to you." Our favorite furball said grumpily. Chapter 2. Academy Brats. The classroom was filled with loud chatters. Fangirls admiring their Sasuke-kun, with hearts popping out of their eyes, a dog barking at who knows what with his owner, and a bubblegum-colored hair banshee screeching at the top of her lungs at a girl with blonde hair tied up into a ponytail. The only quiet kids were Aburame Shino, who was playing with his insects, Hyuga Hinata, who was too shy to even look away from her fidgeting fingers, Uchiha Sasuke, and a sleeping Nara Shikamaru. Today was the first day of the Ninja Academy. Clan members such as the Naras, Hyugas, Akamichis, Inazukas, Yamanakas, Aburames, and the last of the Uchiha clan came to teach their future clan heads how to be a shinobi. The door slid open to reveal a blonde 8-year-old with a goofy smile plastered on his face. Flashback no jutsu. "Oh, Naruto, I forgot something," the third Hokage said. "What is it?" A now calm ANBU asked. He sighed before answering the question. "You'll need to act stupid. Rather blunt if you ask me." Naruto glared. "Sorry, Naruto, but you'll need to be the dead last of the class so it won't be suspicious when you're put in the same team as Sasuke." "Makes sense," Naruto thought. "No, and you said I was blunt," the Hokage thought, dumbfounded. "Please," he begged. "Fine." His eyes twitched in annoyance. "But after the Genin exams, I'm dropping the act. Deal?" The Hokage sounded relieved and sent the boy away. Flashback no jutsu kai. The overly happy Uzumaki skipped his way into the chaotic classroom, finding a seat next to the Uchiha. Naruto's POV. "So this is the brat I'm supposed to be babysitting. I really think I should be doing more important missions, right, Kurama?" The old fox grunted in response, wanting to get back to sleep. "You're always tired, fluffball." Our sensei came in, and well, he was shocked on how much noise 25 8-year-olds can make, and honestly, I don't blame him. Those academy brats are going to get killed one day if they don't shut up. "Quiet." A Chunin with short brown hair tied into a ponytail shouted, using his big head jutsu while doing so. The class immediately went quiet, realizing their sensei was finally here. "Hello everyone. Call me Irika Sensei. I'll be teaching you for the next 4 years." He gave us an introduction on what we'll be learning and doing over the 4 years. I didn't bother to listen since I'll know everything they'll be teaching. Of course I would. I'm an ANBU after all. It's been 3 years since I've been assigned to this troublesome mission, and I've regretted it ever since. I mean, how could I not? This mission was simply annoying. I had to spend 7 hours in a room acting as an idiot with 2 loud-ass mutts, a class full of screeching fangirls, and an Uchiha with hair shaped as a duck's ass. I woke up from an orange, oversized fox from the deepest part of my mind shouting at me for being lazy and not waking up on time. "Wake up, kid. You'll be late, you idiot." Yes, I know, Kurama." I sat up groggily. "You better." He huffed. I got up from bed, stretching. I was a little tired from the mission last night. I put on my hideous Kill Me orange jumpsuit that had a big Uzumaki swirl on the back and 2 smaller ones on the shoulders. After opening the door, I left my tiny apartment that was filled with spray-painted words kindly left by villagers wanting to give me a visit. When I arrived at the academy in a matter of seconds thanks to a shushin, I walked down the familiar hallways I went through every weekday and stopped at the door I despised entering. After sliding the door to the side, I walked in, wearing my usual kill-me orange jumpsuit and a goofy smile plastered on my face. Sitting in my usual spot next to the broody emo, I put my hands on the desk and rested my face on top to try to catch up on some well-deserved sleep. A little later, I woke up. Again. But instead of a 1,000-year-old fox, it was a textbook hitting my head. Ow! I cried. Don't sleep in class, Naruto. An angry Iruka scolded. Sorry, Iruka-sensei. I apologized sheepishly by rubbing my hand behind my neck before feeling my ANBU tattoo that was covered by my long-sleeve jumper heat up. Knowing what this means, I quickly made an excuse to leave the very classroom that was now snickering at me, some even laughing. Iruka-sensei, I need to go to the toilet. Class is almost done. You can wait. No, I really need to go. I started moving my legs around to show I was desperate. Now, the snickers turned into laughter, and the people already laughing was trying to catch their breath. Fine. Just be quick, Iruka sighed. Thanks. I said before running to the hallways as fast as possible so I won't keep the Hokage waiting. I finally arrived to the Hokage's office, kneeling before him wearing my ANBU attire and mask to receive my mission. Sorry to keep you away from your charge, Kitsune, but I have an important task for you. The old man said. No worries, Hokage-sama. I said, now in a monotone voice. He nods. Your mission is. Chapter 3. Finally, Genin exams. I had just reported my week-long mission to the Hokage, and as I make my way back home, I was finally able to get some rest, so I plopped on my soft mattress, falling asleep almost instantly from the exhaustion. Iruka's POV. I hope Naruto's fine. He didn't come to the academy in 4 days. I sighed. He worries me too much. The Genin exams are coming up soon, too. Sometimes, he comes in looking tired and sleeps in class. I need to ask him how much sleep he's getting. I continued thinking until the first student arrived in the classroom. More and more started entering, which meant it became louder, giving me a headache. While students began filming in, I heard the bell ring, signaling to me that I had to start class. I guess Naruto not coming dash. Before I could continue my thought, the door slammed open, revealing a panting Naruto. I'm not late, am I? The Uzumaki asked using his famous cheeky smile. No, just in time, I said, smiling at the boy. I don't know why, but whenever I see his wide, toothy smile, it brightens my day. Like a candle being lit in a dark room. My favorite student, my student, sat in the last seat available. Today, I was reviewing as much as possible since the exams will take place in a week or so. Naruto, what's the name of 4th Hokage? What? His raspy voice was clearly confused, said. Naruto's POV. What? I pretended to struggle, just like the 4 fucking years. I'm so glad I can drop the act in a week. I was getting annoyed from Sakura-chan punching me in the head. Why did I choose Sakura as my crush again? The answer was obviously Namake's Minato. How could I not know my own dad's name? And yes, I know who my dad is. 4th Hokage, the Yellow Flash. He was feared for many things. When I know my dad's name, I would eventually find my mom's name. Uzumaki Kushina. Her being the only Uzumaki in the village at the time, and being the Hokage's wife made it easy to connect the pieces. Before getting distracted with my thoughts, I'll kindly continue. I don't know. I sheepishly said, rubbing my hand on the back of my neck. Okay, Sakura, do you know? Iruka-sensei asked. It's Namake's Minato, Naruto Baka. How could you be so stupid? At this rate, it'll be impossible to achieve your stupid dream. Not like it was possible anyway, she said, mumbling the last sentence. I mentally rolled my eyes and Kurama growled. We both know how much potential she has, but because of her fangirl issues, it would be wasted if she doesn't stop fawning over Uchiha brat. 3rd POV. A week has passed, and it was finally time for the Genin exams. Nervous academy students filled the classroom, some more nervous than others. However, one particular student was over the moon. It was shortest kid in the class, shortest because the lack of food the villagers would actually give him. That's right, it was Uzumaki Naruto, the hyperactive, soon-to-be ninja. Though Naruto was excited to finally leave the academy, he acted terrified for the sake of the Hokage's orders. The blonde boy walked to his seat, looking as nervous as he can. A little while later, 2 Chunin walked through the door. One was Iruka and the other was a blue-haired man with 2 large shuriken on his back. The first part of the Genin exams was a simple test. The questions were surprisingly easy, even for Genins. Is this what it takes to become Genin? It's way too easy. Back in my day dash. Yes, back in your day, which was when you were 6. You sound like an old man, kid. Maybe I do. But are they trying to kill these brats? No, you're just a prodigy. The old fox proudly said, remembering the time they discovered the little kid, which Kurama preferred to call Kit, was a prodigy. Flashback no jutsu. The little 4-year-old boy had started training with his first ever friend, which was strangely an overgrown fox freeloading in his stomach. He and Kurama met after the worst attack from some drunk villagers, but that's a story for another time. The QB was immediately fond of the little blob of sunshine once they met, so he wanted to train him to be as strong as possible. Kurama's POV. Not bad, Kit. The Kit made his wide, toothy smile go across his face. I started training him less than a week ago, and he has been impressing me ever since. Not that I'll admit it, though. He doesn't need to be arrogant. A little like his mother, if you ask me. During this week, I've been teaching him tree walking and water walking, seeing as it'll be one of his hardest struggle because of his massive chakra pool. He learned tree walking in 1.5 days and water walking in 3 days. On top of that, he was able to learn the clone, substitution, and transformation jutsu in a matter of only 2.5 days. After that, he was able to exceed the shinobi ranks, which eventually led him to become captain of Team Ro. The newly formed ANBU squad consists of Dog, Weasel, and Snake. Team Ro preformed lots of successful missions that impacted the village greatly before being disbanded and letting the team members grow stronger in other ways. After that, Dog continued to be an ANBU for a little while longer before the Hokage pulled him out to be a Jonin and later, earning title, Kakashi the Copy Ninja. Snake joined the TNI, Torture and Interrogation, which was perfect for her sadistic mind. Then there's Weasel. His real name is Uchiha Itachi. A few years after Team Ro disbanded, he was assigned a mission, which was to massacre his clan, leaving Sasuke as the last Uchiha alive in Konoha. Itachi was also the most sane member of Team Ro. The others, well, you have a sadist, a closet pervert, and a broken child. Flashback no jutsu. Kai. Third POV. Naruto made sure to be the last person to hand in his sheet before going outside to the other students to start the second part of the test, kunai and shuriken throwing. When it was the so-called dead last's turn, he scored a 3 out of 10 for kunais and 4 out of 10 for shuriken. But it seems everyone has failed to notice the small crack on the wooden target made from the force of throwing kunais and shurikens. The final test was to preform 3 jutsus, the clone, substitution, and transformation. Naruto did the bare minimum to pass and walked out looking like the happiest person in the world. He put on his new headband and displayed it on his forehead proudly. By stepping foot in the classroom, everyone turned their heads to the newly promoted Genin in surprise. Before they could complain on how he became Genin, the teacher that went in and out of hell for 4 whole years because of them stepped in clearing his throat. Everyone started walking to their seats while Irika started lecturing them on the importance of starting their shinobi career. After what felt like hours, he was calling the new Genin teams. Naruto's POV. Team 7 consists of Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and so it's going to be me, Sasuke, and someone else. It would probably be a girl judging from previous teams and me being dead last and Sasuke being the top of this class. That makes Haruno Sakura. Why me? Naruto groaned. Anyone but her. Come back tomorrow afternoon to meet your senseis. An overly happy Irika said. Chapter 4. Introductions and Bell Test. The bell rang as the freshly picked Genin entered the classroom waiting for their new senseis to pick them up. I wore an orange and black jacket with a hood and a black turtleneck shirt with a zipper underneath, a black ANBU pants, and my shinobi headband tied in my head. Naruto Baka. Don't think you're cool by changing your clothes. You know who screeched across the room. Shut up, will you? I said, trying to smile, which ended up twitching from annoyance. Some confused looks shot across the room as I sat next to Sasuke and a confused Sakura. I ignored her and decided to rest my head onto my arms. Like Irika said, our new senseis are supposed to arrive. The problem is, ours didn't. The only teams left were Team 8, Hinata, Kiba, and Shino, and Team 7, me, Sasuke, and Sakura. Now, there's one team left. Team 7. The looser team gets a looser sensei. Dog Breath said while walking out of the classroom with a smirk. Only one person could be this late. Just as I was thinking, a gray-haired jonin with a mask covering half of his face popped his head through the classroom door. I glared at him, even though I'm used to him being this late. You're late. The pinky shouted. Sorry, I got lost in the path of life. Anyway, meet me in the roof. The sensei said before shushing away. While my 2 teammates walked out, The duck butt looked at me strangely, probably wondering why I wasn't coming with them. When they left, I went out the window and sat in the stairs in front of Kakashi. Why are you a Genin, Captain? To protect the duck ass, I said, rolling my eyes. The closet pervert sighed in response. I see. Then, the Banshee and Emo decided to grace us with their presence. The Emo sat to my right while the Banshee sat next to her Sasuke-kun. How did you get here so fast? The Kunoichi of the year yelled. HN. The team said in agreement. Walking, I said in a monotone. The two were dumbfounded. Are they really the top students in the class? All right, now you're all here. Let's introduce ourselves. You go first, Pinky. Our new sensei said, pointing at Sakura. Why don't you go first, to show how it's done? Kakashi's eyes twitched but complied. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. My likes are none of your business, same with my dislikes. My hobbies are none of your concern, and I never thought of my dream. I cited his introduction. It's the same as the first time we met. Flashback, no jutsu. Again, the young blonde with a fox mask walked in the forest, waiting for his new team members. One by one, two of his new teammates arrived, but one was missing. That ANBU was Dog. He expected this, so he told him to come 3 hours earlier. He was an hour late, but just as they were about to find him, a tall masked ANBU with gravity-defying hair walked in the clearing near the outskirts of Konoha. I sighed. It was better than waiting 3 hours. I'm your captain for this team, I said, taking off my mask. Judging from their faces, I guess I surprised the purple-haired ANBU in front of me. The rest copied me and took off their mask. What? But you're just a gaki. Snake shouted in surprise as she and the rest of the team members took off their mask. I know. I calmly replied. I wasn't much of a talker back then. Not now either. And you're stronger than us? I nodded. HN. The Uchiha heir HN, though he was probably thinking, I'm so proud of him. It was impossible to understand the Uchiha language. Then, there was a while silence before I said, let's introduce ourselves. Flashback no jutsu, Kai. All he said was his name. Sasuke and Sakura thought. Now you go, Pinky. My name is Haruno Sakura. My likes are. To sum it up, her whole personality was about Sasuke. Everything. What about you, Emo? My name is Uchiha Sasuke. My likes are my likes and my dislikes are my dislikes. I don't have a hobby and my dream isn't a dream, but an ambition, and that is to kill a certain someone. Knowing he's talking about Itachi, me and Kakashi saddened at this, and Sakura practically had hearts in her eyes of how cool Sasuke was. And finally, Blondie, glaring at him, I said, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. My likes are my team. When I said team, I was talking about Team Row because why would I like Team 7? That's right, I wouldn't. Training and Konoha. I don't have many dislikes, and hobbies is also training, and I've never thought about my dream. Kakashi nodded in response and said, tomorrow, go to training ground 7 at 6 a.m. for a test. Oh, and don't eat breakfast. You'll puke. He did his famous I smile and shushed away, avoiding any questions Ms. Useless and Mr. Arrogant might have. I walked away from the Genins that I'll need to call comrades from now on. I got tied to the post as Kakashi gave me a, sorry captain, look and disappeared to let the others eat. Now, you might be thinking why I'm tied to a post when I'm an ANBU captain. No. Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Remember when I was walking home the other day? Well, while I was walking, I got called to the Hokage's office. Basically, the Hokage wanted me to hide my strength unless it's absolutely necessary. This is because the council, especially the civilian council, wouldn't like it if I suddenly and suspiciously got stronger and would definitely want my head chopped off. After a long silence, Sasuke gave me his food and told me not to slow him down. Reluctantly, Sakura copied him, giving me some of her food too. I wasn't hungry because I ate breakfast, but I took it anyway so we could pass. Suddenly, a puff of smoke appeared, revealing Kakashi bending over at us. Sasuke was in a defensive position and Sakura looked like she pissed herself. Pass. Chapter 5. I hate being Genin. Third POV. Team 7 met at a very nice-looking bridge near the training grounds. The team were bouncing with excitement, some showing it more than others, because today was their first mission. A tired-looking Kakashi and Naruto were walking to the Hokage's tower with a smiling Sakura and a slightly nervous Sasuke trying to hide it. Walking into the Hokage's tower, a knock could be heard. Come in, the village leader said through the door. The door opened and 4 people came in. Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Ah, Team 7. I'm guessing you're here to take your first mission? Yes, Hokage-sama. Kakashi said in a professional tone. Your first mission is a D rank, Sarutobi said with a suspiciously mischievous glint in his eyes. You'll need to catch a cat called Tora. It can't be that hard. It's just a cat, Sakura said, trying to impress the team. Naruto's eyebrows twitched and a couple of umbus hidden in the room snickered. Naruto sent them, and the Hokage's sharp glares, reminding them why he was an umbu captain. Emo in position. Sasuke mumbled, annoyed by his code name made by Kakashi. Cherry Blossom in position. Kitsune in position. When they heard their sensei's signal, they all pounced at the cat. Bow on ear confirmed. Our protagonist said, "Good, let's go back." Kakashi said. They went back to the Hokage's tower to give the demon cat back to its owner. The owner was the daimyo's wife, who immediately strangled the poor cat once it came into her sight. The next day, unfortunately to Team 7, they got another earache. This time, their mission was to take care of the kids at the orphanage. Naruto perked up at this. You see, before he became an umbu and all that stuff, he lived at the orphanage. Even though the mother of the orphanage didn't like the boy, the other kids did and even looked up to him. The four stood outside the orphanage, giving a certain blonde a sense of nostalgia. As they entered, the mother greeted the sensei and the two teammates with a happy smile, leaving last with a forced smile and a glare. She let them in and gave them a tour so they won't get lost. When they finally finished, they walked to a large area near the entrance where the kids were playing. Naruto Nizan. One of the kids shouted with glowing eyes, running towards him. The other kids soon followed. Long time no see, everyone. Naruto said, showing a real smile he thought had been long gone. You know them? Sakura asked. I used to live here when I was younger. Naruto nods as he was now surrounded by kids. While all this was happening, the mother walked off, not wanting to be near the demon brat. After a while, Naruto wanted to see his old room. No one was occupying it since it was a dusty attic. Naruto's POV. I opened the creaking door and stepped inside. My two other teammates behind me and a sensei trying to hide his porn from the innocent 3-year-olds. Was this really your room, dope? Of course not, I said sarcastically, stepping over the creaky floorboard. My tiny room was a dusty mess with a toothbrush and a cup that was beside my sleeping bag. The sunlight shined through a small-sized window behind my only two belongings left in the attic. You know, this place is really depressing. Sasuke rolled his eyes. You know it was when the king of all emos says it. Was it like this when you lived here? My green-eyed teammate asked. Well, it wasn't as dusty. Why did you even live in the attic? There must be other rooms available. The both actually sounded concerned. Well, a little. I shook my head. No other rooms? Really? Nope. I lied as I was walking out of the room. Kakashi must have heard our conversation because he gave me a sad smile. I heard the mother saying dinner was ready, so everyone besides me went to the table. Instead, I went to the playroom to clean everything up. When I was at the orphanage, I wasn't allowed to eat with others, so I didn't expect that to change now. The children took their seat at the table waiting for their food to get placed in front of them. The team was waiting for Naruto to join, but when he was still missing, Kakashi asked, even if he knew the answer already, why isn't Naruto here? Why should he? The mother tilted her head. I'll go find the dope, Sasuke said as he walked off. Sasuke's POV. Dope, there's food, he said, finally finding Naruto. I know, he said. I could smell the cooked food from here, and I know Naruto has a better sense of smell than me. So why? If so, why aren't you coming to eat? There's no food for me, he said bluntly. Now that I think of it, there weren't any spare plates when I left. Well, that's true, I said quietly. How do I respond to this? Do I leave? What do I do? I mentally panicked. Sasuke-kun. Naruto. The food will get cold. Hurry up. Naruto got up, and we walked to the dining room, as I silently thanked Sakura. We sat down, but Naruto still didn't have his food. I was going to say something when the caretaker gave him his plate with a glare. For some reason, Naruto looked surprised. Did he expect not to get food? I hope not. I'll get worried if he did. When we finished our food, we got paid and left. If I'm being honest, I'm getting tired of these D-rank missions. I want some adrenaline. Chapter 6. A memory I want to forget. Flashback, no jutsu. I woke up to my door slammed against the wall. If I didn't wake up immediately, who knows what the mother would do to me. Wake up, brat, she shouted outside my door. I walked out my room, well, if you can call it that. It had a thin sleeping bag, a couple books about ninjutsu, a toothbrush, and a cup. Going down the stairs, I arrived to the dining table. The kids didn't leave much food left, so I just washed the used plates. After that, I didn't have anything else to do, so I went to the garden to practice my ninjutsu. I walked out the back door that led me to a small-sized garden with plants all over the place. I leaned against a tree facing in front of a pond. Then, I opened a book about ninjutsu. I unlocked my chakra a while ago so I could try ninjutsu. The book said, Wind Style, Wind Bullet, with pictures of the necessary hand signs underneath. I tried it a few times before finally getting it. A transparent bullet that was barely visible cut through the air, slowly disappearing from my sight. Naruto Nizan. What was that? A 2-year-old boy said, running to me. It's ninjutsu. What's ninjutsu? It's a jutsu you can do with chakra. Chakra, never mind. I chuckled. Kakashi's POV. I was watching the young 4-year-old blonde, wearing my ANBU mask and outfit hidden behind my cloak. While I was in the trees observing the little Jinchuriki, I saw him going to the garden. He opened a book, leaning against a tree, and started doing hand signs. After a while, several wind bullets shot out of nowhere. Did Naruto do it? How? He's just 4. I thought. Then, a little kid ran towards him yelling his name. I came closer to hear their conversation. Naruto Nizan. What was that? A 2-year-old boy said, running to him. It's ninjutsu. Then the younger kid started asking questions like, what's ninjutsu? And to my surprise, all of the questions were all answered correctly. I left before they could finish talking while thinking, I need to tell Hokage-sama about this. I hopped on roofs with my hood falling off my hair because of the nice breeze pushing against me. I arrived at the Hokage's tower quickly and knocked on his door. Come in, came the respected leader's voice. I entered and explained what I saw to the man smoking his pipe. I see. What do you think about it? He's a prodigy. If he gets the right training, he could achieve great things, I said, hoping to train the boy. The Hokage nodded. Observe him for now. He's too young to start training. Yes, Hokage-sama, I said before sunshinin away. Third POV. It has been 1 year since Naruto learned his first jutsu. Later on, he found he had wind affinity, and so he started learning more wind-style techniques. It's now October 10th, and the 5-year-old Naruto was asked to buy groceries by the caretaker. He knew what risk that could happen if he went because he'd been through it a couple of times, mostly on his birthdays. But he still went out because he was promised a nice warm meal just for him. And well, let's just say it was a bad, no? Terrible idea. It was night at the time, and lots of bright decorations were on display. If you asked why, you're probably new to Konoha. It was a festival, but what could be wrong about that? Everything. It was the day the Kyuubi attacked the village, and the day hundreds of people died, 2 of those being the 4th Hokage and his wife, and a newborn child became the new Jinchuriki. What makes this festival so sinister was an activity called the Fox Hunt. Once the boy was found, villagers would chase him all around Konoha and abuse him until they got bored. Naruto ran through the streets of Konohagure, trying to go back to the orphanage while bumping into people and trying to get away from the mob of villagers holding any weapons they can get a hold of. Naruto ran through as many stalls and alleyways as he can, trying to loose the villagers chasing him, screaming, demon, monster, and many other hurtful words the young boy couldn't handle. One last turn, Naruto said, thinking about the orphanage and how he would rather be with the caretaker than the mobs of villagers. The blonde prodigy turned around the corner, and a dead end. The world froze. Before he knew it, everything went quiet. So quiet that you could hear a pin drop to the ground. The world moved so slowly that Naruto could see the villagers catching up him in slow mode. The festival music and the sounds around him began to feel muffled, yet the hateful screams and threats from the villagers were heard so clearly. However, the world came crashing back as soon as it left. Adrenaline rushed through Naruto's body, and with fear shown clearly in his eyes, he shakily backed up the wall behind him. As a drunk villager turned around the corner and made eye contact with the child, he kicked his stomach against the graffiti-covered wall. Air was pushed out of Naruto's lungs, and he slumped to the cold concrete floor. Naruto's POV. My stomach felt hot. Very hot. And it hurt like hell. Some people started joining in, some even carving words across my body. Others stabbed me, punched me, kicked me, and broke my bones while I saw some spectators drinking and getting drunk in the process. It felt like hundreds of needles pierced my skin, but even then I didn't let a single noise come out of my mouth. I wouldn't. I can't give them the satisfaction they desired and the screams they wanted so badly. I just stayed still, letting them do whatever, hoping they would leave soon. I was silently crying of how much my body stinks, especially after they poured alcohol on my wounds, making me reek of beer. Everything that got jabbed in my skin, everything that touched the surface of my broken body, everything. I was about to let out a scream I've been holding for an hour until my blurry eyes saw a dark flash, and everyone surrounding me, and even those who were just observing, disappeared. The floor turned crimson red, my own blood mixing with theirs. Before I passed out, 2 masked people with a black cloak covering their whole body walked towards me. One picked me up and whispered, "Don't worry, we're here to help," to my ear. Then, everything went dark. I woke up to a sewer-like area with water up to my ankles. Did the villagers throw me in here after I passed out? I thought. I started walking around aimlessly, hoping to find a way out until I finally walked into a room. It had a massive metal cage with a large seal between the bars, so my jailer decided to grace me with his presence. A rough and low-pitched voice growled, "Who are you?" I asked, not threatened by the large eye staring at me. "I'm the QB no Kitsune," he said proudly like he had just won an award. "That's not a name." "What?" the QB asked, dumbfounded. "Something people call you. It's Kurama, and I know what a name is, brat." He huffed in annoyance. "Nice to meet you, Kurama," I said with a small smile. "I've been watching your memories and you're pretty mature for your age." The fox's eyes softened and he continued, "So I think you deserve to know why you're hated so much. You know," I said with my eyes sparkling. The fox chuckled and explained everything that happened on October 10th. How my dad was the fourth Hokage, how my mom was known as the Red Hot Habanero, and me being a Jinchuriki. After all that, saying I was shocked was an understatement. I was much, much more than that. After all that, Kurama said, "Why don't I train you, brat? From what I saw, you're a once-in-a-lifetime prodigy." My eyes widened in disbelief and immediately agreed. I slowly opened my eyes, quickly shutting them before blinking to adjust to the bright ceiling light above me. I tried to get up, but pain shot through my whole body that I was forced to stay still. "Naruto?" an old man's voice full of concern asked. I immediately recognized the voice. It was Gigi. "Gigi? Where am I?" I asked quietly, wondering where I was. "You're in the hospital, Naruto." "Oh." Then two masked people entered the room. I panicked and tried to move away before a pain that reminded me I was still recovering, which stopped me. "Don't be scared. They're the people that saved you," Gigi said. "Take off your masks. I have a favor to ask." The two masked people removed their masks and introducing themselves. "I'm Hitaki Kakashi," said the one with spiky gray hair and a black mask that covered half of his face. "I'm Uchiha Itachi," the second introduced. He had long black hair tied in a ponytail that matched his black eyes. "Thank you for saving me." I quietly, "Don't worry about it," Itachi said. "Now my favor," the old man interrupted. "I would like you two to train Naruto. I want him to be able to protect himself if something like this happens again." "Gigi, yes, I'm already going to train with someone." "Really? Who?" "Kurama. He's my new best friend." I smiled. "Kurama? What a unique name. I've never heard that name before." "Yeah, he's the QB." Before I could hear his answer, the Hokage said, "QB?" The two other people in the room looked as shocked as the Hokage. "Yeah, he's super nice too." It took all three of them a while to convince Kurama isn't a threat. The Hokage sighed in defeat. "Fine, but you'll have to be trained by both Kurama and Kakashi and Itachi." After I was released from the hospital, I got my own apartment after the old man found out the caretaker was the one that sent me out. A week later, I started training with Kakashi and Itachi, who I now somewhat consider my brothers. Flashback no Jutsu, Kai. Chapter 7, Land of Waves. It's been several months since I became Genin, and I've been doing a lot of D-ranked missions. A lot of things changed since we became Genin. For starters, Sakura stopped being a fangirl and became a likable person. She's more focused on training and then became a kunoichi with high potential. She even has a new goal. It's to be a medic nin. Sasuke opened up more. He became less of an emo and stopped thinking about revenge. He also smiles more, which makes him look cute, not that he isn't already. In the back of my mind, I hear Kurama chuckle as he hears my thoughts on how cute Sasuke's smile was. I sighed. Today, I'll need to take another D ranked, and I'm getting bored of it. Maybe I'll ask for a C rank. Hokage-sama won't mind, right? Me and the rest of Team 7 stood in front of the Hokage ready to revive another mission. The Hokage went through the D-ranked missions, listing them off. "Hokage-sama, is it possible to get a higher ranked mission, like a C rank?" I asked politely. "Naruto, you can't get a higher rank. You just became Genin." Iruka protests. "What do you think, Kakashi?" "I think they're ready, Hokage-sama." "Okay, bring the bridge builder." He called to the ANBU. There were footsteps and the door opened, showing two ANBU behind an old man who was obviously drunk. I froze. Flashbacks of that night running through my head. My heart was pounding like it was going to explode. I backed up, leaning against the Hokage's desk while our client introduced himself as Tizuna, the great bridge builder, and started mocking me and my teammates. I didn't mind the mocking, after all. I've been through it my whole life. The only thing I felt at the moment besides fear was anger. Why did he mock Sasuke? Why was I mad at this anyway? My breath was uneven as all eyes turned to me. Kakashi and the Hokage had a look of realization on their face as the others looked confused. Suddenly, a kunai touched against the glass bottle the bridge building was holding and broke. The person who threw it was Kakashi, using his eye smile to reassure me that I was fine. Third POV. Sasuke was mad. Even if he didn't show it, He was mad. The fucking bridge builder. Fuck him. For making Naruto scared. He thought angrily. Why was he scared anyways? He's just drunk. The confused duck but questioned. Well, it's not my business, so I shouldn't question it. Anyways, Kakashi-sensei told his team to pack for a month's worth of a trip before they left the Hokage's office. Imo walked in the lonely Uchiha compound. It would be nice if someone besides me lived here, he thought, taking off his shoes and walking to his room. He opened the door to his room and started packing the necessities. The ocean-eyed protagonist walked in the red light district, which is where he lived. He came to his apartment to see a broken-down door. He sighed. I should have expected this. It's been a while since this had happened anyway. He walked in, ignoring the broken glass scattered in front of his window, and walked to his closet. He took what he usually packs for his ANBU missions. It was just some clothes, toothbrush, toothpaste, and weapons. An hour later, Team 7 stood in front of the gate that separated Konoha from the forest. The previously drunk man who introduced himself as Tazuna walked up to them. Naruto backed up a bit before realizing he wasn't drunk and stopped. They waited and waited for their sensei to arrive. Tazuna was about to go back to see what was talking so long, but then the closet pervert finally showed up. Sorry, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way. He wasn't Kakashi if he didn't make his lame excuses, right? Team 7 and Tazuna walked on a dirt path. Everything was going fine until Naruto and Kakashi noticed a puddle not that far away. It didn't rain in days. Do they think we're stupid? The blonde shinobi wondered. He and Kakashi nodded, silently agreeing not to do anything until they attacked. Suddenly, two Miss Shinobi jumped out of the poorly made genjutsu puddle and tied a chain around Kakashi. Before they could kill him, he substituted with a random log in the forest and hid in a tree nearby. Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto went into action. Sakura in a defensive stance and Sasuke was ready to attack. Not bad, Naruto thought as he watched Sasuke fighting one of the demon brothers while the other was racing towards him. Naruto and Sasuke fought the demon brothers while Sakura was protecting Tazuna. When the fight was over, Kakashi appeared saying, "Good job," surprising Tazuna. "Wadash, how?" he asked. "Substitution." He replied simply. "Oh," he said, making it very obvious he had no idea what that was. They continued walking, following the dirt path. Team 7 stopped when they heard something move in a bush next to them. Naruto went to check it out and found a rabbit. Why's the rabbit's coat white? It's summer, not winter. Just as he finished his thought, he sensed something coming towards them in a rapid pace. "Duck!" he and Kakashi yelled. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura ducked while Kakashi pulled Tazuna down since his reaction time won't be quick enough. Right after everyone ducked, a massive sword flew where their head would have been and crashed on a tree behind them. A man with a bandage wrapped on his face similar to Kakashi landed on the sword. He had a Miss Shinobi headband with a slash through the symbol. Zabuza Momochi. Naruto and Kakashi thought. To be continued. Land of Waves 1. Tree climbing. Zabuza Momochi. Naruto and Kakashi thought. Naruto's POV. I watched as Kakashi fought with Zabuza. I felt useless by not helping, but my charge comes first. Soon enough, Zabuza overpowered Kakashi, and so, he got trapped in a water prison. I didn't know what to do. Should I risk my rank to save Kakashi and the others, or should I risk it and try to find another solution? All these thoughts came running through my head. I was trying to find a way so no one would get killed in the process. If I fight Zabuza to save Kakashi, I could risk my rank getting revealed, but if I find a way to save him while my skill level remained as Genin, I might risk Kakashi getting killed. I kept thinking on all the possibilities while the gray-haired shinobi shouted at us to run away. Then, an idea came to mind. "Sasuke," I shouted. I grabbed my Demon Wind Shuriken out of my bag and made my clones transform into them then. I threw them to Sasuke, who had his hand out, ready to catch it. I saw Zabuza smirk in the corner of my eye, probably thinking he could win against a bunch of Genins. One of the things I've learned from being an ANBU was to never underestimate my opponents. I made sure my subordinates learned that too. Most learned from the first day they had to call me Taicho. Flashback no jutsu. It's been a week since I started training. So far, all the stuff I was learning from Kakashi and II and Itachi and II were pretty easy. They taught me all the academy jutsus in a mere week, and apparently, I was a prodigy for learning them all in a week. I was waiting for Kakashi and II with Itachi and II. We've been waiting for an hour or so, and I can see Weasel and II getting frustrated. Even if he was calm and has everything together, the only thing that could make him frustrated was waiting for a long time. Just before the Uchiha exploded with hidden anger he had, the dog summoner arrived. He smiled, making I make an upside-down U, and said some unbelievable excuse only an idiot would believe. "Sorry I'm late to your ANBU entrance exam. Naruchan. Don't call me Naruchan. It's embarrassing. We walked to the TNI department, which was where the ANBU entrance was held. We stopped at the front doors since Kakashi and Itachi and I couldn't enter because they were already in ANBU. Good luck, Naruto, they both said. When I walked inside, all eyes turned to me. I was expecting hateful glares, but all I got was confused ones. Why's Agaki here? Are you lost? A random person in the small group of people asked. I'm here for the ANBU entrance exam. There was silence. Then laughter came from all of them. A kid, trying to be an ANBU. One said. More and more comments came from the crowd, and I swear, I would have beat the crap out of them if a man with a bandana came out of a door. Shut up, he screamed. Everyone stopped their laughter and comments to turn to the man. You will now begin the ANBU entrance exam. He led us to a room, and we started the test. An hour later, I was the first to come out of the TNI with a mask and uniform. Itachi and Kakashi and I was waiting outside when I came out. You did it. Congratulations. Both of them congratulated me and took me out for ramen at Ichiraka's. A year has passed since I became an ANBU, and everything was going smoothly. The Hokage called me, so I appeared in his office, scaring him while doing so. Kitsune, an old man said surprised. Yes, Hokage-sama? I said innocently. He sighed. Nothing. Why did you call me then? Oh, I want to announce something to you. I tilted my head. What did he want to announce? You're going to be captain of Team Ro. Congratulations. Flashback no jutsu kai? Sasuke caught the demon wind shuriken and threw it to Zabuza, who easily dodged it. I saw his smirk grow wider but quickly disappeared when my clone undid its transformation and threw a new set of shuriken to Zabuza. The fight ended with Kakashi being released and a fake tracker Nin killing Zabuza. I didn't say anything about the tracker being fake because Kakashi fainted of chakra exhaustion and we'd have a few days before Zabuza awakes. After that, I carried my sensei, ignoring Sasuke and Sakura's offer to help as it would tire them. Tazuna offered us to stay at his house, and we gladly accepted the offer. We began to walk to his house, and luckily, we didn't get attacked. Tazuna knocked on the door before it opened. You're back, a woman said excitedly. Thank you for bringing my father back safely. My name is Tsunami, she said, slightly bowing. I'm Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, Uzumaki Naruto, I said. This one is Kakashi, I continued, pointing at Kakashi that was on my back. She then led us to an empty room and told us that was where we'll be staying for the mission. Me and my teammates put our bags down and waited for Kakashi to wake up. Kakashi's POV. I opened my eyes, quickly shutting them because of the bright sun that shined through the window on my right. After a while of squinting my eyes, I opened them fully to see my former Taicho reading one of my books I packed. He noticed that I woke up and asked, Porn? Seriously? Is that why you wouldn't let me read your book when I was little? I scratched the back of my neck looking like an idiot and nodded slightly. He sighed and stood up from the floor as the rest of my team walked in. How's tree climbing training? Sakura asked. Tree climbing requires chakra control, and you need chakra control to use jutsus. I threw 3 kunais and they landed in front of the Genins. Use them to mark your progress, I said before they started running up a random tree near them. Sakura was the first one to finish because her chakra pool wasn't that big since her parents were civilians. Naruto ran up the tree a few times while marking it with his kunai I gave him before falling to the ground. After a while, he finally ran to the top of the tree and sat on a tree branch. Good job, Sakura, Naruto, I said, making it seem like I was surprised at how fast they were, but in reality, Sakura's speed made sense and Naruto knew how to tree climb with me and Itachi's help at a young age. Sasuke was the only one left, so he walked to Sakura and Naruto to ask for help. I guess my teamwork training didn't go to waste, I thought. I told Naruto and Sakura to go to the bridge to protect Tazuna, and after an hour of trying, Sasuke did it. Good job, Sasuke, I congratulated. I expected him to take another hour because of his large Uchiha chakra pool, but then again, he was a prodigy. He was sweating and panting as I took him back to Tazuna's house where Naruto, Sakura, and Tazuna's family were waiting. Land of Waves 2. First homemade meal. We all sat in front of the table, ready to eat. Tsunami placed some food on the table while apologizing. Sorry there's not much. There isn't a lot of food here in the wave. Don't worry about it, the Jonin sitting next to me said. I was too busy staring at the food. After all, it is the first time I'll be eating homemade food. It's also the first time I'll be eating in a week. I was distracted by my thoughts, not listening to Sakura's question about some photo until Tsunami's kid, Inari, slammed his hands on the table. You're all gonna die. There was silence. We didn't know what to say. Why would we die? We are trained shinobi. Gato's going to kill you. Why do you keep trying? You've never felt pain. I bet you live your carefree lives in Konoha with your family. You've never had a day without food. You don't know what it feels like to lose someone. I was gritting my teeth. Who does this kid think he is? He's just a spoiled brat who's going through some emo phase. I thought. I slammed my hands on the table, not being able to control my anger. I said, "Shut up. What makes you think you know anything about me or my life?" I could always control my anger in some way. I've never done this before. What's happening? Sakura looked shocked at this. So did Sasuke, who looked slightly worried. They were now used to my calm self who doesn't talk much. Kakashi's been with me before I became an ANBU, so he knows why I was mad. He tried to calm me down by saying, "Calm down." He doesn't mean it. I'm sure of it. He says I'm smiling. Kakashi's POV. Though this may look like I was defending Inari, I was actually trying to calm Naruto down before he gets a mental breakdown. One thing I've learned from being with Naruto for most of his life was that things that remind him of his childhood was bad. What makes things worse was that all of the things Inari has said was most of the terrible things that happened to him. Luckily, Naruto composed himself, and without a word, he walked outside. I was about to go after him, but a Onyx-eyed Uchiha beat me to it. "I'll go after him," he says, going out the door. I got up and excused myself to go to Inari's room because he ran there when Naruto left. I knocked on his bedroom door. No response. I tried again. Still no response. I tried a couple more times before I gave up and opened the door. Inari was sitting near the window and holding a photo that was probably his dad. I sat down next to him. "Hey, Inari, I want to tell you about something," I asked, hoping to make him realize he should be grateful to have what he has now. I began to explain Naruto's childhood, leaving the confidential stuff like him being an ANBU, a Jinchuriki, and who his parents are. At first, he didn't know what to say, then he started to cry. I tried to comfort him as best as I could by rubbing his back and saying kind words to him. Sasuke's POV. I ran after Naruto. I don't know where he went, but I know he couldn't go far since he just left. Naruto. I tried to call out for him, but failed after a while ago after trying. I stared to walk aimlessly trying my luck. Luck was on my side as I found the recognizable yellow-haired boy with blue eyes. I couldn't stop staring. He was so beautiful under the moonlight. His ocean blue eyes sparkled, making me blush a little. He turned to me, tilting his head to the side in a questioning manner which made him look adorable. He asked, "Sasuke, what are you doing here?" "I was trying to find you, dope," I said, turning away as an attempt to hide my blush. I glanced at him with the corner of my eye to see his beautiful face once more, but quickly diverted them somewhere else because I saw his eyes turn to look at mine. "You coming?" He stood up and replied, "Yeah, I am." We walked in silence to Dazuna's house, not sure on what to say. Naruto's POV. The raven-haired team walked up to me, saying something about finding me, but I was too focused on his pale, emotionless face that made my heart skip a beat. I snapped out of my thoughts and asked, "Sasuke, what are you doing here?" We talked for a while before he turned his head away, making it look like he was trying to hide something. "He looks too cute like that," I thought, quickly sneaking a peek on his blushing face. Wait, why was he blushing? I looked away once I noticed his eyes were on me. "You coming?" he asked. "Yeah, I am." We entered Dazuna's house to be greeted with Kakashi reading his porn on the couch. We walked upstairs to our room that Tsunami gave us, and went in to see Sakura, already sleeping. It was around midnight, so I should head to bed too. The next day, I woke up to hear something crashing downstairs. I quickly hurried out of bed while realizing I woke up late. "Kurama, why didn't you wake me up?" "Humph. I'm not your alarm clock kid." He pouted. "You were in the academy." I ran downstairs to see two thugs. They were holding Tsunami near the front door and Inari was somewhere behind. Then, she was unconscious and Inari was running towards the thugs. "Idiot," I thought as I sunshinned in front of him to fight the two thugs. I dodged their swords and eventually tied them up. Before Inari could say anything, I ran to the bridge since Zabuza and his partner would be there by now. I finally arrived, and the first thing I saw horrified me. I saw, to be continued, Land of Waves 3. Zabuza and Haku. I saw Sasuke getting hit by senbons. My blood boiled, not because I'm supposed to be protecting him, but because I might like him. No, love him. I ran towards the glass dome the masked person made and blocked the senbons with my kunai. He still got hit, but it was better than nothing. His eyes widened, surprised on how I got to him so quickly. The masked shinobi threw more senbons, and I dodged the ones that wouldn't hit me and Sasuke, and blocked the ones that were going to hit him. How are we going to get out of this? I thought. "Kit, I have a plan. Kurama suggests, use some of my chakra. It might break the ice mirrors." I let his powerful chakra engulf me as the ice mirrors cracks. It's working. Soon after, the dome of ice shatters in a million of pieces. Meanwhile, Zabuza was trapped by Kakashi's summonings who were ready to kill at his command. Once Sasuke realized we were out, he turned to me, ready to ask a bunch of questions like how I was able to come to him so quickly that he couldn't see it, and how I was able to block and dodge all the attacks the fake tracker Nin gave me and only end up with a couple of scars. Well, before he even opened his mouth, Kakashi was about to shoot a Chidori through Zabuza's heart that was free from any dog snouts, but before he could kill him, a masked man with long black hair sunctioned in front of him, killing him instantly. Haku. Zabuza shouted. Zabuza. The person we now know as Haku said softly, smiling before he collapsed onto his arms. The rogue shinobi started tearing up at his partner's death. Sasuke looked horrified. It probably reminded him of what happened in his past. I nodded at Kakashi. He understood and signaled to his hounds that were still ready to kill. They then pounced on him, ripping his flesh and biting down on his body. Zabuza was killed. Clapping could be heard not so far away. It was Gato and his crew. I wasn't going to give him a cent anyways. Gato snorted out. The dogs growled, knowing he was an enemy. Just before his thugs were going to attack, I did the famous shadow clone gesto, and a bunch of me appeared with a puff of smoke. We charged at them, killing them with ease. One of me sliced a head, the other stabbed one in the heart, another one of me cut through a thug's windpipe, killing him in a matter of seconds. At the end, there was bloodshed. Everywhere. A large chunk of the unnamed bridge was covered with bodies and crimson red liquid. Tazuna, Sakura, and Sasuke eyes widened. Every one of them, excluding Sasuke, has never seen that much blood, let alone murder. By now, Gato was begging for his life. I was walking to him slowly to make him more frightened. I finally reached him. Ignoring his pleads for mercy, I separated his head from his body. Sakura and Tazuna were shaking as I walked towards them. I sighed as Kakashi explained it was part of being a shinobi. It took a while before they stopped shaking, and while they were trying to calm down, I cleaned the bridge. I was the one who dyed it red anyways. Third POV. Team 7 and Tazuna walked back to his house in a comfortable silence. It's finally over. The Kunoichi thought. The bridge is completed. I wonder what I'll name it. That was fun. The Jinchuriki said to Kurama. Yeah, it's been a while since you killed. He agreed. How is he so powerful? I need to ask him. I know he's stronger than me, but not that strong. Thought the newly not-so-emo duck, but fuck. The ANBU suddenly shouted in my mind. I need to explain how I suddenly became stronger. They entered the house and walked to their room after the wave citizens congratulated and applauded them for saving them from Gato and his army. Just before Naruto was about to leave, hoping he will get away from the questions, Duckass decided to crush his hopes and dreams. Naruto. He replies nervously. I have a few questions. Like what? He said, making it obvious he was hiding something. Like how you were suddenly stronger than a Genin and even Chunin. Shit. Kurama. He answered tiredly, just waking from his never-ending slumber. What should I say? Sasuke is getting suspicious. While Naruto was panicking in his mind, Kurama suggested, just tell him. What's the harm in that? The harm is Hokage-sama making me quit this mission. So you don't want to get separated from Sasuke? The orange fox smirked, knowing his answer from the silence. Yes, I don't. Got a problem with that? Nope. Just sad to see my kid growing up so fast. You're not my mom, Kurama. He said, embarrassed. He chuckled and didn't reply because Sasuke asked, Naruto? Are you gonna answer? Oh, yeah. I'm actually, well. Spit it out. Dope. I'm an ANBU. Silence spread across the room. Sakura was there, packing her things, and Kakashi was reading his Aika Aika Paradise in the corner. ANBU? Yes. He and Sakura looked at Kakashi for confirmation. It's true. He is an ANBU. He confirmed, lowering his book to make eye contact while doing so. Why are you a Genin if you're an ANBU? Sasuke asked. I'm a Genin because I was sent on a top-secret mission. What mission? This time, the emerald-eyed Kunoichi asked. It's a mission to protect you, Sasuke. I responded, looking at the Uchiha. Me? Why? Because you're the last loyal Uchiha in Konoha and you could be in danger because of it. He and Sakura nodded with wide eyes before I said, this is confidential, so please keep it to yourselves when you're around other people. The two nodded, taking in the new shocking information. The old Hokage sighed. He just learned that Naruto's rank got exposed. Can the mission continue? I promise it won't affect Sasuke's safety. He pleaded to. Sandaime-sama, Lord Third. I wasn't planning to, don't worry. He reassured him, smiling. Actually, his teammates getting to know him better. Even his rank is a big step forward. He thought, what did he mean by getting to know him better? Isn't this mission to protect Sasuke? Is the Hokage hiding the true purpose of this mission? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Dash. Find out next time on Naruto Ball Z. Chapter 8. Bonding Trip. The Rookie 9 and Team Guy waited in the Hokage's office. They were waiting for someone to arrive. Was it Kakashi or Naruto? Well, the obvious answer would be Kakashi, but Naruto wasn't known to be the most unpredictable ninja for nothing, was he? Correct. Naruto was the late one, beating Kakashi with a new record of 6 hours. Yes, you read that right. A whole 6 hours to wait for our favorite blonde protagonist. The secret ANBU walked to the doors that lead to the old man's office. A knock could be heard as the Jonins and Genins sighed a breath of relief because they didn't need to wait another hour for Naruto to arrive. The door opened and the QB container walked in panting like a madman. He just finished an ANBU mission and here he is, taking one right after, only having time to change out of his ANBU gear. He secretly glared at the village leader for giving him unlimited missions since they got back from the wave. Though the glare was supposed to be secret, it didn't go unnoticed by his two teammates and sensei. Why are you panting, Naruto? Ino asks curiously. I woke up late and rushed here. Okay. Shikamaru looked at the dead last suspiciously. He thought Naruto was hiding something from them. Sarutobi coughed into his hands to get their attention back to him. You may be wondering why you are all here. Well, it's because you'll all be going on a bonding trip. Naruto's POV. What? He didn't say anything about bonding. What's he going with this? Since you'll be bonding, I thought it would be a good idea to introduce you to another team. This is Team Guy. You might know some of the members already, he said, looking at Kakashi who looked like he could die at any second and Hinata that was nervous as always. It's very youthful to meet you. A guy that had a bowl cut and a green spandex outfit shouted excitedly. He then introduced his team. This is Niji, he said while pointing to the Hyuga. She's Tintin and he's Lee. Tintin has 2 buns on her head and Lee looked like a mini version of Guy, like father and son. After, we introduced ourselves by saying out names and pointing to them. When we were done, Hiruzen continued. The mission will last for 5 days and you'll be traveling to Suna. Have fun. The Hokage dismissed them but called me to stay behind. Naruto, in this mission, I want you to express yourself more. What? It's almost the QB festival and every time you get hurt, you become less sociable. Okay, QB festival? Isn't it a week from now? I mentally cursed myself from stuttering. Whenever I hear something about the festival or my birthday coming up, I get nervous and remember what the villagers do. The Hokage looked sadder than he just was. No, it's in 3 days, Naruto. 3 days? I started to shake. Every year it gets worse and worse. I can't imagine what it'll be like this year. Just the thought of it could bring me to a mental breakdown. Don't worry. He tried to calm me down, though failing. He said, you'll be away from Konoha. By the time you come back, the villagers will calm down and forget about it. They never. You can defend yourself, and Kakashi will be there for you, as he knows about it. I can't. You know I freeze at the smell of, alcohol, and I told Kakashi it ended long ago. Why? I don't need to be a burden to him. He gets the day off at the QBF festival, so why bother him? Before the Hokage said his response, I bowed and sunshined away. Kid, I'm so sorry. It's my fault. It isn't. I'm a monster. I deserve it. You still believe that? A whole village against 3 people. If you're a monster, what am I? A misunderstood fox. He had no words. I could tell he was shocked, but why should he? I was just saying the truth. I packed my belongings, which wasn't much, just a few shirts, pants, and weapons. I left my apartment that looked like it could collapse any moment and walked to the village gate. This time, I wasn't the one who was late. It was Kakashi, like always. We waited for an hour before he appeared in a puff of smoke. No one said anything because they expected me and Sakura to shout, "You're late." 2. Kakashi-sensei, but surprisingly, we didn't. Shikamaru eyed me and Sakura curiously, but looked at me with more suspicion than curiosity. Eventually, we left Konoha's borders and headed to Suna. We stepped on dirt paths while admiring our surroundings since it was all the Genins, besides Team 7 and Team Guys. First time outside the village. Loud chatters could be heard from the large group of Genins. Everyone was talking about random stuff like their missions and how boring it was. The only person that wasn't speaking was me. Naruto. I was too focused on my surroundings to make sure there wasn't a threat that could harm Sasuke in any way possible. My name got called more and more, but I didn't notice until my crush tapped me on the shoulder. Naruto. I jumped a little for being too focused, but then I said, we were trying to get your attention for 2 minutes. Anyway, we were wondering if you know what the QB festival is. I shook at the word. K, QB festival? Yeah, I know what it is. What? Shikamaru looked at me in a questioning manner, but quickly brushed it off. We want to know if you'd like to try one day. The purple-eyed male said. Kakashi thought the beating stopped a long time ago, so he gave me a serious look that says, tell me what they mean. Shit. He knows. I cursed in my mind. Why wouldn't I? I said with a hint of nervousness in it. Yeah, who wouldn't? The human mutt said excitedly. They kept talking while I kept my mouth shut, but that didn't last long when Kakashi came up to me. The villagers still beat you? He quietly said angrily. Why, yeah. I shakily replied, making it clear that I was ashamed of lying to him. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, but more calmer. I didn't want to burden you with protecting me when you should be having a day off. You won't. I would gladly protect you whether you want or not. But no, buts, I will protect you, always. He reassured me. Thanks, Kakashi. And I. He looked shocked, but quickly I'd smiled. He hasn't called me Kakashi and I since. Bonding trip 1. Setting up camp. Thanks, Kakashi. And I. He looked shocked, but quickly I'd smiled. He hasn't called me Kakashi and I since that night. Flashback, no jutsu. Itachi and I, please don't go. I said with water flowing out of my eyes. You know I have too. If I don't, Sasuke will die. He looked at me with sad eyes. He just killed his whole clan, leaving Sasuke as the last Uchiha. Isn't there some other way? No. I'm sorry, Naruto. Wait. I said before my eyelids became heavy. The last thing I heard was, take care of yourself, Naruto. He noticed me and asked, Naruto, are you okay? I nodded my head. My eyes were puffy from what happened. Itachi. He left the village after he massacred his clan by the Hokage's orders. Kakashi. Will Itachi come back? I don't know. He answered with sad eyes. Third POV. After the massacre, Naruto became more distant and stopped calling Kakashi brother. He avoids talking about Itachi and spends his days doing missions nonstop. Naruto, it isn't healthy. Take a break. Kakashi and the Hokage pleaded. Naruto stayed silent and put his hand out to receive a scroll for a mission. You just came back from a mission. You've done way too many in a day. Take a break, please. He lowered his hands and walked out of the Hokage's office. He sunched into his apartment and took his mask off. He was going to cry and didn't know how to stop it. Kurama, take a break. You need it, he said, not letting Naruto finish his sentence. I'm fine. I'm not tired. Kid, I'm sealed in you. I know you're tired. Don't lie. Just a week off, please. Fine. He knew he needed a break, but he didn't want to take one because it would make him think of Itachi. A week later, Naruto took his first mission in a while. This time, he didn't take missions after missions. He took one mission in a day or two thanks to Kurama's help. A few months flew by and Naruto got over the massacre. He still tried to avoid the topic and won't call Kakashi brother, but he was smiling more and was happy. Flashback no jutsu kai? Naruto's POV. The Genins continued to chat while Kakashi and I glanced at me every once in a while. It's been a few hours since we left Konoha and most of the Genins needed a break. I'm tired. Can we have a break, please? The Inuzuka whined with his dog. I agree. We need a break, says the brown-haired boy with swirls on his cheeks. All right, let's take a break here. The red-eyed Jonin said. We all sat down and reached into our bag to get a lunchbox. Well, everyone besides me. Where's your lunchbox, Naruto? Sakura asked. I don't have one. Why? Aren't you hungry? No. Are you sure? The Raven head said, making me blush because he was worried. Yeah, okay. My teammates said. Everyone ate their food while talking about Suna and what they think it'll be like. Actually, since I became an ANBU, I've never been in Suna. I've done missions near the borders of Suna but never been in it. I was brought out of my thoughts by Kakashi and I handing me his food. It was sushi and some vegetables. Here. He had smiled. It's fine. I don't need it. He placed the food on my lap and said, You do. I stared at the food. It looked good, but I resisted the urge to eat it. But it's yours. By now, everyone's attention was on us. They were all confused because they thought everyone brought their lunch. I gave in and said, Thanks, Kakashi and I. I took a bite, and it was delicious. It filled my empty stomach in seconds. Naruto, why do you call Kakashi sensei, brother? Ino asks. We met when I was younger, and he practically raised me. Then why didn't you call him that when you're on missions? Sakura pointed out. I didn't because I tried to think of an excuse since telling them the truth will lead to me knowing Itachi, and it all goes downhill from there. He didn't because I'm his sensei during missions, but I'm his brother when we're not doing mission. Kakashi quickly explained. Oh, okay. They all said. Shikamaru looked at me more suspiciously. I need to be careful around him. I thought. After we finished our lunch, we started to walk to Suna. Hey, Naruto, what do you think Suna will be like? Kiba asks. Hot, sandy. He looked dumbfounded. I mean, what else was I supposed to say? A few on the Genins chuckled. One of them was Sasuke. He looks cute when he chuckles. I thought. Kiba sighed. Idiot. No one said anything after that, so we walked in a comfortable silence while I was sensing for any possible enemies. Sasuke noticed this and tapped my shoulder. Naruto, there are 4 Jonins, so you should enjoy the walk. It's fine. It's just a forest anyways. There's nothing special about that, and I've seen it too many times. Still, you should at least relax for a while. Before, I'd make myself do mission after mission nonstop. I'll be fine, don't worry. I tried to reassure him. It isn't an excuse. He's right, it isn't. Kakabaka butted in. And when were you in this conversation? Now, he happily said. I sighed and gave in. Fine, I'll take a break. Only for a while though. Just as they were about to go back to the little groups they made, Shikamaru asks, what are you talking about? We were talking about. I trailed off. The Kyuubi festival. We were talking about the Kyuubi festival. Sasuke said. Oh, okay. He said, narrowing his eyes at me. It was night, and the Jonins decided it was enough walking for today. We walked to a clearing in the endless forest, and Asuma said, let's set up camp. No one was sleepy, but the Jonins told us the sleeping arrangements so they wouldn't have to do it later on. Sleeping arrangements. Sasuke and Naruto. Sakura and Ino. Choji and Shikamaru. Hinata and Tenten. Shino and Kiba. Lee and Niji. Kakashi and Akamaru. Asuma and Guy. Kurenai. We were all happy with it. Well, except Kiba, who complained about getting separated from Akamaru. We ignored him and set up our tents while the Jonins hunt for food. Bonding trip 2. Truth or dare. Sasuke's POV. Me and Naruto just finished setting up our tents. We were one of the first ones to finish, so Naruto decided to have a walk while I went to Shikamaru. Hey, Shikamaru, can I ask you something? Shikamaru, who had just finished setting up his tent with Choji, said, yeah, what is it? Did you notice anything strange about Naruto recently? Yeah, he was acting strange. We should ask him what that was about. He nodded, and we walked away from each other when we saw Naruto coming back from his short walk. The Jonins came soon after with food in their hands. We're back, my youthful little Genins, Guy-sensei shouted. They handed us the fish they caught, and we sat in small group we created. Everyone sat with someone, even me. I sat next to Shikamaru and Choji, but Naruto sat alone. What's going on with him? He's more social than this, I thought. Anyway, we all ate our food quite quickly, and everyone became bored after a while of chatting with their friends. Why don't we play truth or dare? It is a bonding mission, Tenten said. We agreed since it was better than staring off into space. We sat around the campfire some of the Genins and Jonins built and stared the game. Truth or dare, Choji? Ino asked. I zoned out after that. This was a stupid game kids play that has no meaning. Well, that was what I thought until. Naruto's POV. Naruto? Truth or dare? Shikamaru asks. Truth. This is so boring. I wish we could have done something else, something more productive. I complained. I see Shikamaru smirk slightly. What is he thinking? I wondered. Okay, why do you act nervous when we mention something about the Kyuubi festival? I'm an idiot. Why did I choose truth? It's because. Shikamaru's eyes widened slightly. A look of realization was plastered on his face as he said, You are the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, aren't you? My head was facing the ground as I nodded. Yes, I am. What's a Jinchuriki? Choji asks. Jinchuriki are people who have tailed beasts sealed inside of them. For example, the Kyuubi. Sakura explains. Oh, they were about to continue, but Pineapple Head had to use his brain. So, since you're the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and the Kyuubi festival is about beating up the Kyuubi. He trailed off after that, knowing he didn't need to continue. I didn't want to say anything, more like I couldn't. I was too busy thinking about what they'll think about me and the beatings the villagers gave me. Since no one said anything because of shock, Kakashi said, they beat him almost every year, leaving him to die in the alleyways, and I was never able to dash. His voice cracked. It's not your fault. I interrupted before running away from the group and heading to the forest. Sasuke's POV. I can't believe he had such a big secret. I thought as I ran after him. I was worried about him, and the more I ran, I became even more worried. I finally caught up to Naruto. He was standing in a clearing in the forest with puffy eyes, and it made me wonder, what more could he be hiding? His head turned to face mine, and before he could say or do anything, my lips pressed against his. I was worried he wouldn't kiss back and it would ruin our friendship, but luckily, he did after he realized what I did. We separated our lips and I asked, Are you okay? Why, yeah. He replied with his head facing the ground. Are you sure? You don't look like it. Yes, I'm sure, but what? But, don't you hate me? For being a demon? You're not a demon, so why should I hate you? We should go back. The others would be worried. I said to avoid the topic. He nodded as I grabbed his hand and lead him back to camp. By now, all the Genins and Jonins went to bed besides Kakashi. Naruto, are you okay? He asks worryingly. Yeah, he says while looking down. Sorry. He suddenly speaks. For what? Kakashi said. For running off. I was overeating. It's fine. Don't worry about it. He nodded and Kakashi-sensei said, "You two should head to bed. I'm sure you're tired." We both agreed, but before we could go, he says, "Oh, I almost forgot." He didn't say anything after that. He just pointed at our hands while I smiling. Me and Naruto just realized we've been holding hands since I kissed him. Our hands quickly fumbled apart, and we went inside our tent while blushing. Naruto's POV. I woke up to see Sasuke beside me, his black hair and pale skin making me blush a little. His onyx eyes slowly opened, and we made eye contact. "Shoot," I shouted in my mind. Sasuke smiled and kissed my forehead gently as I dug my face into my blanket out of embarrassment. "Cute," he mumbled. He sat up and stretched his arms. Then he poked his head out of the tent. "The others are up. We should do the same," he suggests. I sighed. My voice was muffled because of the blanket as I said, "Okay." We stepped out of the tent, and I was ready for all the questions that was coming. "Naruto, are you okay?" Sakura came up to me. "Why does everyone ask this question first?" I thought, "Yep, just to confirm. You are the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and almost every year, you get beat up." Tenten says. I nodded because I didn't feel like speaking. "I hate this subject. I wish we could talk about something else." Karina unknowingly granted my wish by saying, "We should start packing. We'll get to Suna today if we start moving." Everyone agreed and headed towards their tent to take it down. Me and Sasuke started by taking everything in our tent outside. Then, we took our tent down. It didn't take us long, so we were ready by noon, including the other Genins and Jonins. "Let's go, my youthful Genins," Guy shouted enthusiastically. "Yes, Guy-sensei." Lee, who looked like the younger version of Guy, answered. "I have a bad feeling about this." I thought as we continued our journey to Suna. Bonding Trip 3. Gaara, the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Third POV. They stood in front of Suna's borders and were admiring the sudden change of scenery. After a while, they decided to enter Suna to meet the Kazekage as the Hokage requested. They walked through the village, and it felt like a normal stroll through Konoha. Well, except for a certain blonde-haired Genin. He was used to receiving hateful glares and people whispering hurtful words about him, but instead, he got none of that. He actually got the opposite. He received kind looks that were welcoming him to their village. Kakashi knocked on the Kazekage's office door. They wanted to thank him for letting them into their village for a mere bonding trip. "Come in." They opened the door to see the Kazekage working on paperwork. They all greeted him and thanked him for letting them stay in their village. Just as they were about to leave, the Kazekage stopped them. "Wait, what is it, Kazekage-sama?" "Kankuro, Temari, Gaara," he called out. Three people who looked about the same age as the Genins came through the door. They introduced themselves as the Kazekage's children and the people who were going to give them a tour through Suna. The three Suna Genins stepped aside so the Konoha shinobi could leave first. Naruto's POV. As I walked past the Kazekage's children, one of them stood out. He had red hair and blue eyes that looked like he hadn't slept in a while. "I think his name is Gaara." I wasn't paying much attention. I thought, "Kit, he's the Ichibi Jinchuriki, Shikaku." Kurama said, "A Jinchuriki? So that's why he stood out from the rest." "Yeah, be careful around him. Shikaku likes to sleep-deprive his hosts and make them go crazy," he warned. "I will. Thanks, Kurama." "No problem, Kit." We were all walking through the village as Temari and Kankuro were explaining where things were and where to find them while Gaara was trailing behind us with his head low. It reminded me of myself in Konoha. Head low while trying to ignore the whispers and glares from the villagers. I walked towards him, feeling like we could get along because of our similarities. Before I could speak, he said, "Kyuubi," without looking at me. Hi." I said, a little confused. "I know what you have in you," he said. This time, he lolled at me with cold and distant eyes. "How do they treat you?" He changed the subject, referring to the villagers. "The same as they treat you, but what? They hurt me." I looked away, not wanting to see his expression. He looked at me with wide eyes. "They do." I nodded in response. I felt like I could tell him anything that bothers me, and I hope he felt the same. "Does Shikaka bother you?" "Sometimes." "What about the Kyuubi?" "No, his name is Kurama, by the way." We walked in a comfortable silence, and we unknowingly caught up with the others. "This is the hotel you'll be staying in," said Temari. She led us to our massive hotel room. It had 8 bedrooms, 6 toilets, and a big kitchen with a dining table. Since there were 8 rooms and 16 of us, we decided to sleep with the same people we did when we were camping. I opened the door to me and Sasuke's bedroom, and it wasn't that big. It had 2 beds across from each other and a desk next to the door. I plopped my bag on my bed and went to the living room where the others were. After a while, the Sand siblings left us to do whatever they had or wanted to do, so we were left to roam our hotel room. After a while of walking around, I heard the doorbell ring. I walked over, and a hotel staff gave us food. Apparently, someone ordered room service and bought a ton of food. Thanks, I said after giving him money for the overpriced food. I sighed. I barely have enough money to survive in Konoha. How am I supposed to survive now? I complained to Kurama, who was sound asleep. I put the food on the dining table and called the Genins and Jonins to come and eat dinner. You ordered food? Thanks, Naruto, said Choji. I didn't. Someone else did. Oh, who? I don't know, but I had to pay for it, I said a bit angrily. I heard a nervous chuckle. Sorry. I was the one who ordered the food, and I didn't realize it would come so quickly. Asuma apologized while handing me money to repay for the food. It's fine, I said. The food was really good, probably the best I had in a while. I was enjoying the lively atmosphere everyone created by talking about who knows what until a burn on my arm ruined it. Hokage-sama is calling for me, I thought as I quickly excused myself to search for a bird with a scroll on its leg. Where are you going? You've only took one bite out of your food, questioned Kiba. Sorry, I'm not that hungry. I'm gonna take a walk. I won't be long. Before they could say anything, I left the hotel to go bird hunting. I walked around the hotel. Nothing. On the roof, nothing. Hotel windows, nothing. I searched and found nothing. I was about to go back and report to the Hokage that the bird he sent wasn't here when something caught my eye. A bird with a small pouch with a Konoha symbol on its leg was stuck on a tree. I thought they were trained better. I thought dumbfounded. I walked up the tree using the simple tree climbing exercise I learned when I was 5 years old to gently pick up the injured bird. I sunshined to my room and took the pouch off its leg and started to treat its wounds. The bird's wings were cut by the branches so it wouldn't be able to fly. I finished treating its injuries and I was about to open the pouch when Sasuke opened the door. Naruto, I stopped what I was doing and said, yes? I thought you were taking a walk. Oh, about that. He notices the bird and pouch and asks, what's that? I found an injured bird while I was walking. It's a mission, isn't it? How did you know? You're a terrible liar, he says while walking to me. He quickly kissed me on the lips and worryingly says, stay safe, Naruto. I smiled and said, I will, don't worry. Oh, and could you please take care of this bird while I'm gone? Sure. Sasuke left the room knowing that the mission is most likely confidential and he shouldn't be looking at it. I opened the letter and saw a photo of what looked like a rouge shinobi. The rest was basic information like status, name, level of ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu, and where he was last seen. My mission is to assassinate a rouge, a simple S rank that can be done in an hour or two. Luckily, I packed my mask and ANBU gear in my bag just in case something like this happens. I unsealed my scroll and changed into my gear that fits me perfectly. I swiftly left through the window in between the two beds and headed near the outskirts of Suna where the rouge was. Just because the rouge shinobi is close to Suna doesn't mean you need to send me, I thought. In a matter of seconds, I exited Suna and was now focused on my mission. Bonding trip for October 10th. Finally, I thought. I just finished the report on my S-ranked mission the Hokage sent me. I would have sent the report to Hokage-sama right away, but the thing is, the bird got injured and couldn't fly. I sighed. I was tired and my body hurts from getting punched, kicked, and stabbed. I looked at the calendar, curious at what day it is since I've forgotten. Big mistake. I froze. Tomorrow, technically today, since it's 12 o'clock, was the 10th of October, my birthday. I walked backwards. I had to stop thinking about what usually happens this day, but I couldn't. I kept walking until my back hit my empty bed, causing it to creak. It woke up Sasuke as he was sitting up and rubbing his eyes. Naruto, are you okay? Did you get hurt on your mission? A now fully awake Sasuke asks. It took him a second to see what my teary eyes were staring at, and he saw the calendar. He had a look of shock and concern fill his eyes. Naruto, you'll be fine. Trust me. I didn't reply. Sasuke's POV. I walked to a crying Naruto and hugged him. I didn't know what else to do. I felt bad that he had to go through all that, especially on his birthday. I want to make him as happy as possible as a way to repay for all his sadness. When Naruto calmed down, he went to his bed to catch up on some sleep. I was about to do the same, but I had to ask one more time. I wanted to confirm that he was okay. Before I could ask, Naruto said, Sasuke, can you sleep with me? Just once. Sure, I said while smiling. I got onto his bed and he tightly gripped my shirt while his head was on my chest. He was shaking slightly and it made me think, what has he been through? I woke up to see messy blonde hair in my face. One of my arms became Naruto's pillow and my other was holding his hand. One of Naruto's hand was still gripping my shirt, but it was a lot more relaxed and he wasn't shaking anymore. The blonde shinobi opened his eyes and turned bright red when I was the first thing he saw. A knock could be heard right after, making Naruto scramble out of bed to open the door. It was Sakura, she said. The others already got out of bed, We'll be waiting. She was about to leave until she saw a little bird's wings twitch. Is that a bird? Yeah. Naruto said. Where did you find it? He was stuck on a tree. He said, leaving out the mission Hokage-sama gave him. Is he okay? His wings are damaged, so he won't be able to fly for a while. It's not that serious, though. That's good. She said before going to the others. We should go now. I told Naruto. He nodded, and we walked in silence to the living room. What took you so long? Asked the Inuzuka. None of your business, mutt. His companion, Akamaru, growled at me for calling Kiba a mutt. Anyways, Asuma interrupted. We were planning on going out to eat breakfast. Any place in mind? What about Dash? Choji was about to suggest something but was cut off by Kurenai-sensei. What about Naruto chooses since it's his birthday? Me? Anywhere is fine. He's getting nervous, like last night. Then, how about Dash? I know. Lee interrupted, making everyone besides Choji, who was getting annoyed, sweat drop. We can go to the dango shop near the academy so we can see the youthful academy students train. What an amazing idea, Lee. Gai-sensei cheered. Gi-sensei, Lee. Gi-sensei, Lee. They continued with this until Tintin stopped them by unsealing some of her weapons to threaten the two taijutsu specialists. Troublesome woman. Shikamaru lazily grunted. Third POV. On the way to the dango restaurant, they saw academy students running around in the sand, making Suna look lively and full of happiness, on the outside at least. However, if your name is Sabaku no Gaara, it's the complete opposite. He, just like Naruto, were hated for no actual reason. They were looked down on, even being the villagers' scapegoat sometimes. Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro were going to find the Konoha shinobis since they weren't done with the tour. Suna was a huge village, almost as huge as Konoha. That was covered in sand, so it would take a while to show them every inch of the village. The reason why the Kazekage allowed them to stay in their village is to tighten their bond with Konoha. It's a necessary step for their plan to work in the final round of the Chunin exams. The Sand siblings went to the hotel the Konoha Nins were staying in to get told the shinobis left for breakfast. They searched for a while, but decided it was better to take a break to regain their energy before searching again. The three ended up in a dango shop since it was the closest restaurant that was open and had decent food. As they walked in, they saw a big group of shinobi. One had bright blonde hair that resembles a certain Jinchuriki. They walked over to see the group they were desperately trying to find. Oh, it's you three from yesterday. Hi. Ino greeted. Hello. We were finding you. Temari said. WY. Hinata stutters. We didn't get to finish showing you around. Oh, okay. Temari, Kankuro, and Gaara ate breakfast with the Konoha shinobis, and once they were finished, they continued the tour. The group walked through the street. Most were socializing while some others were minding their own business. One of them was Naruto. He was trying to stay as close to the group as possible since he has never willingly been outside on his birthday. Flashback no jutsu. Ever since he was 5 years old, he would hide somewhere in Konoha on his birthday. He would usually go to places like the Forest of Death or the Hokage's office. If he's lucky, he will make it in one piece, but most of the time, he wasn't. He continued to hide in those places until he joined the ANBU. Naruto, Kakashi, and Itachi walked in the Hokage Tower to get Naruto's ANBU mask. Itachi's hand knocked on the Hokage's door, and a come in was heard after a few seconds. The three entered Sarutobi's office with a bow, and Kakashi says while smiling, Naruto passed the ANBU exam. Sandaime-sama's eyes sparkled as Naruto gave him a small smile. Good job, Naruto. You'll get your mask in Dragon's office. Thank you, bud. Who's Dragon? He's the ANBU commander. A few of his jobs are to organize ANBU teams, deciding which missions are suited for ANBUs before giving them to me, and many more. Oh, okay, where is his office? It's at the end of the hallway. Itachi and Kakashi will show you. Thanks. They left and walked towards the end of the hallway like the Hokage had told them. They stopped in front of a wood door with a sign that says, Dragon-sama's office. They entered his room like the way they entered Hokage-sama's room. You must be the new recruit. I am, Dragon-sama, he said, assuming he should use the word sama because of the sign on his door. Here's your mask, he says while handing a fox-like mask to the whiskered 7-year-old. From now on, you'll be known as Katoon. Konoha's Katoon. Bonding Trip 5. Meeting the commander. From now on, you'll be known as Katoon. Konoha's Katoon. Naruto's POV. It fits perfectly, I thought as I placed my Katoon mask firmly on my face. Dragon-sama dismissed Kakashi and Itachi and if I'm being honest, I got a little nervous by being in the same room with him since there's no one I could trust nearby. So, I'll explain the rules to you, he says in a monotone. So the first rule is, always follow orders from the Hokage, ANBU captains, and the ANBU commander since they have a higher rank. The second rule is, Wear your mask at all times, unless you're in the ANBU base. The third rule is, he continued up to rule 50, and by then, it had been 4 to 5 hours of listening. You're probably the most focused ANBU I've had. Most of my ANBU can't even last an hour. He complimented while smiling. Thank you, Dragon-sama. I said while bowing. He smiled and said, here's your ANBU uniform by the way. You can try it in at the ANBU base. Your team is Team Nico, Cat. You'll be introduced to the team tomorrow since everyone is on a break. I closed the door to Dragon-sama's office and turned around to see Itachi and II. How did it go? He asked. It went well. Where's Kakashi and II? He had to fill in for a sick ANBU, so he left. Okay. Can you show me where the ANBU base is? I want to try my uniform on. Sure, follow me. Me and Itachi and II walked in the shadows created by houses and shops while masking our chakra. Itachi, what's the ANBU base for? It's to change into our ANBU gear and for medical emergencies. What about the hospital? I asked while jumping from roof to roof. ANBUs are rarely seen. We're supposed to be hidden and doing the dirty work for the Hokage. That makes sense. We stopped at a small entrance near the outskirts of Konoha. We're here, said Itachi. We walked through the door, which was guarded by a couple of ANBUs, and we walked through a narrow hallway that made it different to fight in. We stopped in front of a door. This is Team Nico's locker room, he says while opening the door. Inside was a small room with a few lockers against the wall. In between the lockers were a few benches. You can put your stuff in that locker, he says while pointing at the locker closest to the door. Thanks. I walked over and opened it. There were a few hooks to put your extra ANBU attire and a shelf for your mask and other stuff. I walked into the locker room the next day like Itachi asked me to. Inside stood 3 people. One had a mouse mask, another had a rabbit mask, and the final one had a cat mask. You're small for an ANBU, said the rabbit-masked ANBU. He's the youngest person to join the ANBU, stated Nico. How old are you? Usagi Rabbit asks. 6. 6. Yes. Let's introduce ourselves, said Nico. I'll start, she says while taking her mask off. She had long purple hair that reached to her hips and brown eyes. My name is Yuzuki Yugao. I'm your Taicho, she said without revealing anything about her besides her name. Usagi, you're next. I am Yamanaka Fu. He took off his rabbit mask. He had a Konoha headband tied on his head and a stern face. His hair was tied up in a high ponytail, and he had cold golden eyes. Nezumi Mouse. Call me Sai. I don't have a last name, he says. Why are they so young? Thought Usagi. Yugao looked at me, so I said, I'm Uzumaki Naruto. To be honest, I was a little nervous to tell them my name and to take off my mask. I didn't need to get beaten up again, especially by a bunch of ANBUs. To my surprise, none of them glared or looked disgusted. They just looked, nothing more, nothing less. Then, Nico Taisha told us to go to Training Ground 11 to meet up for our first mission as a team. After we got to know each other's abilities, Taicho dismissed us. I left the ANBU base to see Itachi and II and Kakashi and II waiting outside. Let's get ramen. Flashback no jutsu, Kai. And this is the hot spring. A bored Kankuro said, since we have nothing else to do, why don't we go in? Sakura suggested. What a youthful idea, Sakura. Mini-Guy Sensei shouted enthusiastically. Sorry, we have missions to do so we can't. Tamari says. Oh okay, see you later, said Ino. See you. 2 out of the 3 Sand siblings said while the youngest nodded. We walked in, and Kakashi finally stopped reading his perverted book to sign us in. The girls' hot spring is on the left, and the boys are on the right. The person at the counter says, thank you, said Kakashi and II. Bonding Trip 6, Hot Springs. Third POV. One by one, everyone started to leave the hot spring to enjoy their evening since they would leave sooner the next morning. Naruto and Sasuke were the last 2 people to leave. They were about to leave the steaming water, abandoning the hot spring. The 2 walked side by side with Sasuke, occasionally glancing at Naruto's back, hip and tummy where the very noticeable messages the villagers had given him were. Naruto, being a highly known and ranked ANBU, easily noticed this, but didn't utter a word, thinking it would make the situation much worse than it already is. Once they were changed, they left the hot spring and decided to go back to the hotel together. Naruto had to give his late mission report to his Hokage since the bird should be fully healed by now, and Sasuke just wanted to hang out with him. As soon as they arrived, they went straight to their shared room, so they wouldn't keep the Hokage waiting more than he already is. Also because the little blonde protagonist didn't need a superior, Dragon-sama, yelling at him. Dragon-sama was one of the nicest people he's ever met, but he is scary as fuck if you ever anger him. They went in their room and left the door where there was only a slither of light from the hallways visible. The bird was on Naruto's bed, laying on his soft pillow. Naruto gently picked it up and placed it on the desk which was in the corner of the room. The bird was standing up and moving its wings slightly. Soon after, it started lifting itself off the desk, meaning it was fully healed. The medium-sized bird landed on Naruto's arm, ready to deliver a message. He attached a small pouch around its leg and placed his report, which included an apology of not reporting sooner. Sasuke opened the window to let the bird deliver Naruto's mission report, while Naruto was wishing the ANBU captain wouldn't scold him. Naruto's ocean blue eyes and Sasuke's onyx eyes turned to see the slither of light that came from the door became wider. In front of the door stood a figure. Did they get caught? Dinner's ready, the slouched figure said while yawning and muttering the word troublesome. His eyes scanned the room and laid his eyes on the window behind Naruto and Sasuke. He narrowed his eyes and walked off, deciding it was too troublesome to confirm his hunch. They both sighed in relief and Sasuke said, "That was close. If someone else found out, Dragon-sama would kill me." Naruto shuddered at the thought. It reminded him of the 2-hour scolding he had to go through because his rank got exposed to Sakura and Sasuke. Dragon-sama also made him do tons of D-ranked missions for breaking one of the ANBU rules. Never let your identity get exposed. If you were wondering, the bird's training allowed it to sense when a person is nearby, so as soon as it sensed Shikamaru, it dashed out of the window. I guess the bird needs more training on agility than sensing, Naruto thought. The two of them walked to the dining room where everyone was waiting. That was delicious, Choji said. Glad you liked it, Kurenai said since she was the one who made it. After dinner, Naruto and Sasuke went to their rooms. Naruto's POV. I just finished the amazing dinner Kurenai made. She's a really good cook, I thought as I sat on my bed. I shifted my thoughts to something else, like going back to Konoha tomorrow morning. As I dived deeper into my thoughts, it eventually led me to the Kyubi festival. The villagers beating me to an inch to my life flashed through my head. Monster, demon, disgrace, murderer. Their voices were in my head, along with the abuse they put me through. I unknowingly started to shake. It didn't catch Sasuke's attention until my break became unsteady and quick. Naruto, my eyes started to tear up. The drunken villagers surrounded me and were throwing wine bottles at my wounded body. The previous scars opened and started to burn me, causing me to flinch. I was brought out of my thoughts by arms wrapped around me. I flinched slightly at the sudden contact but quickly relaxed when I realized it was Sasuke. No one's going to hurt you. I'll make sure of that, I nodded as my teary face dug into his shoulder. My arms wrapped around his back, pulling him close to me. Muffled cries could be heard as we stayed like that for a couple of minutes. Once I calmed down, he unwrapped his arms that were around me and held one of them. He kindly asks, "Are you okay now?" "Yeah, thanks." It was pitch black outside, so we decided it was best to go to sleep. Sasuke crawled into bed with me, and for the first time in years, I've slept peacefully. No nightmares about the villagers. Nothing. The next day was nothing special, as long as you don't count waking up with Sasuke next to me and screaming outside our room. We woke up at around the same time. Me and Sasuke got out of my bed so we could start to pack our things. The packing took no longer than 10 minutes. Half of the time was checking if we've left anything behind, since it would be difficult to convince Hokage-sama to let us go back to Suna just to collect a missing item. We knew everyone was awake by now, since the barking and fighting between Sakura and Ino were enough to damage your ears permanently. Even if Sakura stopped being one of Sasuke's many fangirls and actually changed a lot ever since she became a Genin, she and Ino still fought. A lot. The fighting was a little more bearable since they weren't fighting about Sasuke, but something more reasonable instead. Shut up, Ino pick. Why should I? Billboard brow. The Inuzuka's dog repeatedly barked at the same time, making noise unbearable. While Akamaru was barking, Kakashi and Kiba were trying to calm him down. On top of that, everyone else was trying to shut them up by making even more noise. It was a total mess. What a great way to start the morning, am I right? Sasuke decided to ignore all the chaos and drag me out of the hotel room to find a place to eat breakfast. Bonding Trip 7. Back in Konoha. When Sasuke was about to leave, Kurenai said, "Where are you two going?" "We're leaving in a few minutes," while trying to shut the Genins up. "On a date." "What?" I whispered to him. "You said we were going to eat breakfast." His 3-letter sentence was enough to make the room go silent. "Naruto baka," Ino screamed after a while of silence. Though she matured a lot since she became a Genin, she still kept her crush for Sasuke. Sasuke interrupted before saying, "Don't we need to go back to Konoha? Didn't you say we were going on a date?" I whispered to him, slightly angrily for him being too confusing. "Oh, I thought it was breakfast," he teased while walking out of the hotel lobby. I simply pouted and followed him. The rest soon followed after, wondering if what Sasuke said was true. We walked under the blazing sun, admiring Suna since it'll be a long time until we could go back. We had to stop a few times so some of the Genins could get some pointless souvenirs, which they desperately wanted. After we roamed through Suna for the last time, we walked out of the borders and made our way back to Konoha. The trip wasn't anything special. We took breaks every few hours so the Genins could catch their breath and regain their energy. At sunset, though, we started to set up camp since the next day will be tiring. This time, the Jonins will be the ones who'll set up tent and the Genins will gather food. They split us into the pairs we've been with for 4 days and let us explore the forest. While me and Sasuke walked in the forest, we saw a couple of mushrooms, which we took and found some deers later on. Sasuke, I whispered so the deers wouldn't hear us. I pointed at the pair of deers that were munching on some grass. They were minding their own business, but unluckily for them, we were told to get food. He nodded, and I threw a kunai at one of the deer's head. The other deer that was left started to panic and ran in a random direction, but before it could, Sasuke threw a shuriken at its throat, killing it instantly. When we arrived at the camp area, all the tents were set up, and there was a campfire. We placed the deers and mushrooms and waited for the others to arrive. When everyone finally arrived, we waited for Kurenai to make some food since she's the best cook out of all of us. Before that, she asked us, "Does anyone who knows how to cook want to help?" I decided to help since it wouldn't take as long and it's not like I have anything better to do. "You can cook?" The Yamanaka asked. "How else would I be able to survive?" I asked back. She mumbled something while I went to the campfire and started helping Kurenai. Once we were done, we served the food to everyone. They seemed to enjoy the food, which made me and Kurenai smile. After dinner, we played some games. We decided on playing hide and seek after I refused to play truth or dare countless of times. Eventually, we had to go to bed since we'd be going to Konoha as fast as possible tomorrow. Me and Sasuke entered the tent, and we laid down facing each other. Third POV. Naruto opened his eyes to see a sewer. In front of him was a giant metal cage that had a seal in between the cage door. The giant furball looked at Naruto with a smile that looked suspicious to the blonde. "What?" he asks. "So, you're finally with Sasuke." Shut up, Kurama." The fluffball's grin became wider as he said, "So you admit it?" "Maybe." Naruto replied while looking away at the grinning fox, trying to hide his noticeable blush. "Maybe. Fine, I am." He chuckled a little before I started to wake up. Naruto's eyes slowly opened. As he got up, the raven-haired Genin popped his head into the tent and said, "You should get up. We're leaving in 30 minutes. He nodded and got up to take down his and Sasuke's shared tent. 30 minutes later, all the Genins, Jonins, and the undercover ANBU were heading towards Konoha. They created a lively atmosphere by their talking. Everyone was talking to their friends as long as you don't count Uzumaki Naruto. Once again, he was sensing if there was any enemies nearby, just like on their way to Suna. Naruto was getting annoyed of the constant chatter from the Genins. It made it hard for him to concentrate on his surroundings. Luckily for him, Konoha was an hour away, so he just had to bear with it. Everyone's footsteps. Everyone's breathing. He could sense it all. An hour later, he and the others finally reached Konoha's main gate. Finally, Naruto muttered to himself out of relief. Those 5 days with the Genins and Jonins, most of his secrets got revealed, which he wasn't happy with. We all have secrets. If they were revealed, we wouldn't be happy, would we? They walked through Konoha. They passed through multiple shops and people who gave them a sweet smile. Well, except Naruto. He received glares and whispers from every villager nearby. This didn't get unnoticed by the others. They all thought, "How did I not notice this before?" Or something similar. They all glanced at Naruto, some longer than others. He, of course, noticed this from being in the ANBU for 7 years. He just ignored the glances and was already used to how the villagers treated him, so he focused on going to the Hokage's tower. "Come in," a voice inside the Hokage's office said. Kakashi-sensei opened the door that leads to Sarutobi Hiruzen's office and walked in. Inside his office was him and an ANBU standing on his right. The ANBU was the ANBU commander, Dragon, which made Naruto shiver. When everyone was inside, Kakashi started his report on their mission. While he was reporting their most recent mission, Naruto looked at the ANBU commander who was also looking at him. Though you can't see because of his dragon-like mask, Naruto could tell he was giving him a friendly smile. After the long and tiring report, all but one were finally dismissed by the Hokage. "Naruto, please stay here for a moment. I have something to discuss with you," Dragon-sama kindly said with a sadistic aura that only the members of the ANBU could recognize. Meanwhile, Kakashi gave a nervous "good luck" I smiled to Naruto as Dagon-sama's sadistic aura rivaled Anko's. Naruto's POV. I gulped when the door shut, and there was only me, Dragon-sama, and Hokage-sama. Sandaime-sama sighed as Dragon started his never-ending lecture on mission reports and how they should be on time, no matter what. At the end of his 1-hour lecture, Dragon-sama gave me the best birthday present, D-ranked missions. I sighed as I took one of the many D-rank mission scrolls I had to do. I read the first mission scroll, Clean Dog Poo for the Inuzukas. I put the scroll in my pocket and sunshined out of Hokage-sama's office while Kurama was mocking me. You, an ANBU captain, an S-rank shinobi on the bingo book, doing D-rank missions? He managed to say in between laughs. Yes, I know. It's pathetic. I pouted. It really is. I arrived at the Inuzuka compound. While sighing, I walked into the giant backyard where they kept their dogs and stared to clean the poop. Chapter 9. Preparations. I hid inside bushes on the outskirts of Konoha, masking my chakra. I had my eyes focused on the well-known demon cat, Tora. I jumped out of the bushes, ready to catch the cat with a ribbon on its ear. I held it by the scruff of its neck while keeping it a safe distance from me, so it won't give me more whiskers. I sunshined to the Hokage's office and gave my simple and short report to Hokage-sama while the daimyo's wife squished the cat to death, which was completely necessary, in my opinion at least. It was the last D-ranked mission I had to do, so I happily walked out of the Hokage's tower and headed to Training Ground 7, where Kakashi told us to meet. 2 hours later, Kakashi finally arrives to Training Ground 7. Me, Sasuke, and Sakura glares at him for being late. He sweat-dropped and hands us a paper. This is for the Chunin exams. Can sign up if you want, he says while I smiling. If you choose to go, it'll start in a month's time, so take this opportunity to train yourself. We all nodded and the copy ninja sunshined to who knows where. We all started talking to each other. So, are you guys gonna sign up? I ask. I am. Sakura says excitedly. Me too. Sasuke says calmly. That's great. It's not like I'm being forced by Hokage-sama, so I'll willingly go too. Just as Sakura was going to say something, a burning sensation went through my arm, telling me I was being summoned to either Hokage-sama or Dragon-sama. I interrupted her by saying, sorry Sakura, I gotta go. I didn't want to be late, so I sunshined to the ANBU base to quickly change into my uniform. I knocked on Dragon-sama's office. He said, come in. After a few seconds, I walked in and saw a couple other ANBU members standing in front of Dragon-sama's desk. Third POV. There were also a few TNI members. Mitarashi Anko and Marino Ibiki were one of the few. Now that you're all here, I'd like to talk about the Chunin exams to you. Dragon-sama said. Kitsune, you'll be taking charge of the preparations, he said before the captain of Team Ro nodded. As you should all know, the Chunin exams will take place in a month. The first part of the exam is the written part and will take place in the academy, so feel free to walk in without hiding yourselves. Directing the feel free to walk in without hiding yourselves to the ANBUs. Then, he started to talk about other things like the security for the third phase of the exam and what to do if there was an emergency. When he dismissed ANBUs and TNI members, they headed to the academy. It was good to start as soon as possible so they get to work on the second and third phase later on. They walked through the academy hallways, getting stares from Genins, who were skipping class, and teachers, who were going to their next class. It reminded the blonde of the days where he went in and out of hell. They stopped on room 301. We're here, one of the ANBUs said. He opened the door and they all walked in, looking at their surroundings and what they can do with it. The room looked like Team 7's homeroom when they were in the academy. The only difference was the floor, which is now gray, and unlike Naruto's homeroom, which had a sliding door, room 301 had a double door. The room was also messy because it was used for storage since it was an extra room no one cared about. So, Taicho, the snake sadist said. The fox-masked ANBU answered. How should we prepare the written portion of the exam? We should split into 2 groups. One to gather observant shinobi to watch the Genins, and one to make the questions. Everyone was listening, so they all nodded and started to split themselves into 2 groups. At the end, it was decided that Rabbit, Boar, and Horse would find suitable shinobi to watch the Genins, and Anko, Ibiki, and Kitsune would make the questions. The ANBU shunshined away, and now, Ibiki, Kitsune, and Anko were the only ones in the room. Let's get started, the blonde said. The TNI members nodded, and they all gathered at the front of the room, avoiding some boxes in their way, and started to think of ideas. What if we make the Genins cheat? The sadistic snake suggests. Cheat? A confused Ibiki asked. Yeah, we should make the questions hard so they wouldn't be able to answer it. What's the point of a test if they wouldn't know the answer to it? The ANBU captain asks with a confused expression just like Ibiki's. The point is to cheat. We'll test them on gathering information. If it's obvious that they're cheating, they'll fail. If not, they pass. The 2 other people in the room thought about it for a while before saying, sounds unique. Let's do it. Just as they were going to start writing questions that will be impossible to answer for a Genin, Ibiki says, I have another idea. We should place the Genins under pressure by threatening them if they get caught cheating 5 times. His or her teammates would get eliminated. Meanwhile, the youngest out of the group was thinking to himself, how do they come up with these ideas? A few hours later, the group that was responsible for making the questions were discussing how they should do the 10th question. We should give them a question where they will need to choose between their comrades or their Genin rank. The purple hair woman excitedly says, good idea. Kitsune said. After they proofread all the questions, the 3 ANBU came on the room with 12 shinobi. We gathered the shinobi, Kitsune-sama. One of the ANBU said, thanks. He replied. Then, he went to the 12 people and started to explain their plan and what they should do. After a while of that, Kitsune finally finished telling them the plan. Got it. Yes, they said. He dismissed them and thought to himself, now, we need to take care of the mess. Yay. Chapter 10. Shikamaru's Suspicions. Shikamaru's POV. Your next mission is to clean the lake near the outskirts of Konoha. The old Hokage said. I sighed while Asuma-sensei took the mission scroll. What a drag. I said lazily. Everything's a drag to you, Shikamaru. My best friend, Choji stated. We walked out of the Hokage's office and walked past Team 7. We came back from our camping trip 3 weeks ago, and this is the first time I'm seeing them since then. Hi. Sakura greets. Hi. Me and my team greets back. Where's Naruto? I asked after saying hi to them. The two turned to their sensei, Kakashi, who turned to them, almost as if they were trying to find someone with a believable excuse. A few seconds of silence later, Kakashi-sensei says, he's not feeling well, so he's taking the day off. I nodded, but my suspicion grew. If you didn't know, my suspicion was that Naruto was much stronger than he looks. Yes, I'm thinking he had more secrets. I know the bonding trip revealed a lot of surprising secrets about him, but I can't help but think he has more. I've done too much thinking today, I thought while sighing out loud. Ever since we came back, we've been receiving a ton of missions. Probably twice as much as we used to get. Third POV. I miss Naruto. Duckass thought while leaving with Kakashi-sensei and Sakura to catch the fucking demon cat. He was told by Kakashi that Naruto had to do some important ANBU duties for the Chunin exams. The blonde ANBU moved the last box to another spare room. He and others finally finished cleaning room 301. Good job, everyone. Ibiki says while grabbing his things. Since they finished with the written portion of the exam, everyone was going to take a 1-day break. They only have 3 weeks to set up the whole exam, so they didn't get much free time. They decided a 1-day break after they finish one part of the exam was good enough, which it was because of the limited time they get. Naruto's POV. I'm so tired, I thought while jumping on my bed. It was a long week, and it'll only get harder because of the Forest of Death, or Training Ground 44. I would have explained what we had to do to make it possible for all the Genins to survive, but a knock was heard on my door. I got up and peeked through the door before opening it fully, just in case it was a villager. But then again, why would they knock? I opened the door and saw a raven-haired shinobi. Naruto, Sasuke says smiling. Sasuke, how did you know I was home? I may or may not have annoyed the living hell out of Hokage-sama to tell me when you'll be on break. I pecked him on the cheek and said, oh, okay. Do you want to go out? I nodded while smiling. He grabbed my hand, which surprised me a little since I wasn't expecting him to do that. And we walked out of my crappy apartment. Have you eaten lunch yet? He asks while walking through the busy shops in Konoha. No, have you? No. Then, do you want to eat together? Sure. What do you want to eat? Sasuke asks. Ramen. He chuckled and we went to Ichiraku, which wasn't far from where we were. Me and Sasuke sat on the seats and ordered ramen. While waiting, the pineapple head noticed us and walked over. Nice to see you, Naruto. Nice to see you too. Aren't you sick? He asks suspiciously. Sick? What are you dash? Sasuke nudges my arm a little. I got the hint, so I said, yeah, I was, but I'm feeling better now. I guess Shikamaru believed my lie because he says, oh, okay. Before walking off, Naruto, Shikamaru's getting suspicious of you. I'm not sure what, but it probably has to do with your rank. I know he's suspicious, but what does it do with my rank? How would a Genin be able to pull off such a believable act for 5 years without Shikamaru noticing? I spaced out for a couple of seconds. He was right. I underestimated Shikamaru. What's more is that your act is the complete opposite of your actual self. You're right. I'll be more cautious from now on. The seriousness was cut off by Tucci, the owner of the restaurant Ichiraku, placing 2 bowls of ramen in front of us. Thanks for the food. Me and Sasuke says. We took the chopsticks on the side of the table and started to eat. Thanks for spending time with me, I said while giving him a quick hug. It's nothing. I was missing you, he says while his cheeks light up a light shade of pink. Me too. I said, smiling. We won't be able to see each other as much since things are going to get busy from now on. Yeah, stay safe, Naruto. I will. We said our goodbyes and walked to our own apartments. I launched myself onto my bed and closed my eyes to get some sleep for the next day. My eyes fluttered, opened, and saw the sunlight shining brightly through my window next to my bed. Damn sun. I cursed in my mind. I got up and changed into my ANBU gear. I put on the fox mask I knew for 8 years and left my house in a flash. This week is even busier than the last week. We had to kill some of the animals in the Forest of Death so the Genins could make it out alive. You see, there are a ton of creatures in there, and an average Genin would definitely not be able to survive for 5 days straight. There are humongous beasts that are always finding their next meal. The Forest of Death wasn't a safe place, and this week, we would be responsible for making it safer. And so, we'll need to kill one beast in one area of the Forest of Death. The forest is huge, so we'd be dirtying our hands for a while. I arrived in front of Training Ground 44 and saw Anko, boar, rabbit, and horse. Ibiki wouldn't be here because he isn't a combat nin. He can fight, but the Forest of Death would be too much for him as he focuses on interrogation much more. You're here, Taicho. Anko calls out. Yep. I walked over to them and stopped when the gates opened. A terrifying aura that was created by the animals in the forest shot out of the large creaking gate. Let's go, I said in a monotone voice. Chapter 11. Beasts in the Forest. Let's go, I said in a monotone voice. Third POV. They wandered through the forest. Anko being the GPS because of the Forest of Death being her second home. Some can be found near the east side of the fourth gate. She said, okay, let's go there. We jumped through the thick and tall trees to get to our destination. On the way, roars could be heard throughout the training ground. Loud footsteps and claws clinging to trees were also a regular noise that was heard. Dead plants and claw marks was found soon after they arrived. They decided to search the perimeter for a while before leaving to another spot. They only have a week to baby-proof the gigantic forest, which wasn't much time at all. A few minutes of searching later, a loud slithering noise was heard by all 5 people in the area. They rushed to the place where they spit up and saw a centipede crawling on a tree. It wasn't just any tiny centipede though, it was a giant one. All of them immediately took their weapons out. The ANBUs pulled out their katanas on their back and the other 2 took out a few kunais. In a second, they all ran towards the giant centipede, slashing it with their sharp weapons. They cut through his long body and blood poured everywhere in the area. At the end, they killed the centipede and were left with some blood on themselves while panting to get air back in their lungs. Since we killed one in this area, let's move to the next, Kitsune said. The rest of the week was full of killing animals, so there was nothing worth mentioning about. Although, they did had some difficulties every so often, but other than that, the week went quite smoothly. Now, instead of talking about a forest with unusually large creatures lurking in it, let's talk about our favorite purple-haired sadist, Anko's POV. It was my one-day break, and just as I thought I could relax after this tiring week, guess what? I couldn't. A little bird was tapping on my window, and I knew I was being called. I groaned as I thought of every possible way to torture the old Hokage without losing my rank. I flashed in front of the Hokage's office door, knocking it to let him know I was there. He allowed me to come in and said, I have a mission for you, Anko. I replied by nodding for him to continue. He got my answer and said, your mission is to spy on Orochimaru. Jiraiya already has his location, so focus on getting information and leaving without a trace. Yes, Hokage-sama. I walked out of the building, feeling a little anxious about spying on my past sensei. I left the Hokage's tower and jumped on roofs to get to my destination. When I arrived at the village gates, I took off, not wanting to waste my limited time. I was hiding behind some bushes, masking my chakra while doing so. Right now, I'm at Suna and for some reason, I see Orochimaru and Suna's Kage meeting up. Seeing their mouths open, I immediately moved closer to the 2. So, the attack will start at the 3rd phase of the Chunin exam, right? The Snake Sannin asked. Yes, in the middle of Gaara's match. Okay, now that my question been answered, let's go through the plan. Then, they discussed how they will attack. Using Jinjutsu was one of their many methods. I listened carefully, making sure not to miss a single detail since their plan seems good and effective. At the end of their long discussion, they decided that they will use Jinjutsu to decrease the amount of shinobi coming after them and Gaara to turn into the Ichibi to destroy Konoha. Once they finalized their plan, they left the borders of Suna, making sure the other person wouldn't be able to sense where they're going. I left after a few minutes of hiding to make sure I wouldn't be caught leaving my hiding spot. Naruto's POV. So that's their plan, Dragon-sama said. Me, Anko and the rest of the people that are preparing for the exams were in front of Hokage and Dragon-sama. It was the day after our short break, and Anko was reporting her mission to them. Thinking that this would benefit Konoha if we were told, he called us to listen. What do you think we should do, Dragon? The old man asks. I think we should continue the exams, but with more caution. He suggests. Yes, we should send ANBUs to watch over the exams to see if anything suspicious happens. Then, we moved our conversation to discussing what to do about the attack. Kitsune, you will continue your long-term mission since Orochimaru's goal is probably Sasuke. The Sandaime says. Yes, Hokage-sama. Anko, since you're taking charge of the second part of the exam, report anything suspicious to me since the Forest of Death is a good place to hide. Yes, Hokage-sama. She replied. He then dismissed us so we could finalize the written and teamwork part of the Chunin exams. Me, the ANBUs, and the 2 TNI members walked back to the Shinobi Academy. We wanted to check the questions one more time to make sure the questions made sense and were impossible for a normal Genin to answer. We walked through the long corridors, and since it was the students' lunch break, they were everywhere. When 3 wannabe shinobis ran past us, they immediately stopped and stood in front of us. Hi, I'm Konohamaru. Are you guys ANBUs? The Hokage's grandson says excitedly. Of course they are. The ginger-haired girl said. How am I supposed to know? He says annoyed. They have masks. The one with glasses pointed out. Why are we always forgotten? Snake Lady and the bald man thought dumbfounded. Yes, we are ANBUs. Rabbit says gently. We have work to do, so please excuse us. The trio nodded and ran off somewhere. You're really good with kids, Rabbit. I complimented. She chuckled and we continued to walk to room 301. Chapter 12. Chunin exams. Begin. Me, Sasuke, and Sakura were walking to the academy. It was the day the Chunin exams begin and everyone was nervous, even me. Well, for a different reason. Ever since Anko's report, I've been worried for the Uchiha. Not just because of my mission, but also because I love him. While we were walking, the boy that I met last week was running past us. I didn't think much of it until we turned the corner and saw him getting strangled by Kankuro. Kankuro, let him down. I shouted. Naruto? He says while letting the boy's feet touch the ground. Konohamaru ran away from him and hid behind Sasuke and Sakura, who were behind me. I looked at the Kankuro and Temari, who was next to him, and noticed that someone was missing. Then, a red-haired boy with the word heart of his forehead jumped down from a tree. He stared at me silently until a raspy voice could be heard. Kurama, what are you doing here? The voice rang annoyingly through my mind. You just noticed, Shikaku? Fluffball's dark voice says. Shut up, stupid fox. I could say the same for you, damn Tanuki. They started arguing, giving me and Gaara a headache as they continue. It reminded me of a pink and blonde-haired Kunoichi when they were in the academy. My eye twitched. Can you two shut the fuck up for a second? Kurama Uchiha said. Once me and Gaara's headache disappeared, I said to the 2 bijus, please continue. Gaara looked at me like I was an idiot while the others were confused. Why are they glaring at each other? Konohamaru whispered to Sakura. I don't know. Sasuke sighed and walked in front of me and bonked his hand on my head. I woke up from my daze, and so did Gaara from the sudden movement. Let's go, said Sasuke. I didn't reply and just followed him to the academy. We walked in the academy, and before we could go up the stairs, a green blob came up to Sasuke. Sasuke, oh, hi Lee, fight me. What? I said fight me. He repeated in excitement. No, please. He begged. No, why not? We have 30 minutes until the exam starts, and we don't want to be late. Niji and Tintin ran to us, and Tintin says, Lee, what are you doing? I'm challenging Sasuke to a fight. He says with sparkling eyes. She sighs and drags Lee up the stairs to the 3rd floor after apologizing to us. We followed soon after and ended up in front of 2 doors. We opened them and walked in the room, which was filled with many shinobi hoping to be a Chunin. After looking for a while, I spotted 6 other rookies from Konoha and headed towards them. I was about to think you'll never show up. The dog owner scoffed. Ino punched his head and said, Sasuke-kun would definitely show up. He isn't a scaredy cat. They kept chatting while I ignored them until a silver-haired guy with glasses showed up. He said, Hi, my name is Kabuto. By any chance, are you guys our rookies? We are. Why? The Nara replied. Would you like some information on the other Genins here? That would help. But why would you do that? Sasuke said, No reason. I just felt like helping. He smiled. Sabaku no Gaara. Says Team Uzumaki Naruto. Shikamaru said. Everyone who's listening to their conversation turned to Shikamaru, including me. Naruto? Isn't he a rookie like you guys? Kabuto asks. He is. The smartest out of Team 10 answered. Then, that means you know him since you were classmates. Just do it. He says, getting annoyed. All right, he takes out some cards and shuffles them for a minute or two. Then, he places two of the cards that are facing down in front of himself. He turns one card over and reads the information on it. Sabaka no Gaara. He is 14 years old. He lists his teammates, missions, and skills. While he was doing this, I was starting to worry. His information was on point, and from what I know, it isn't a Kekkei Genkai. This went on until he is about to read his description. He paused before saying he always returns from a mission without a scratch. They were told by Kabuto that he went on an A rank and a few B ranks, so they were all shocked. After, he turned over my card. I wasn't very worried since Hokage-sama probably hid my actual rank and full name, but I was still wary. He listed my information, which was all correct if you don't count the classified stuff. Just like what he did with Gaara's, he paused. But instead of his description, he paused on my missions. 41 D ranks, 1 C rank, 5 A ranks, and. Shikamaru says shocked but also impatiently. He places the card on the floor so they can read it. T200 S ranks? Hinata asks. Kabuto nodded and their heads turned to look at mine. When they were about to interrogate me, the double door slammed open, making them turn to it. While they were distracted, I swiped the card off the floor. Get to your seats. Ibiki shouts. Just before Shikamaru walked up the stairs to get to his seat, he turned to me and said, Naruto, you have secrets, don't you? I stared at him blankly, not showing any emotions that might confirm his growing suspicion. Seeing that I wouldn't respond, he went to his assigned seat like the other Genins who rushed to their seats, feeling the examiner's killer intent. I put the card in my pocket, deciding it would be best to give it to Ibiki after the written exams. Then, he explained the rules for the test. Most found them unfair and tried to whine about it, but Ibiki would shut them up by threatening them. Begin, he yelled. Everyone immediately put their pencils on the paper and started writing. When I started, I noticed that the questions were ANBU level. I was able to answer the questions easily because I was an ANBU, and even if I wasn't, I would have known the answers because I helped creating them. Even if it wasn't hard for me, it was for the Genins. I noticed half of the people cheating. Some weren't noticeable, but most were. Soon after the test started, Ibiki started to disqualify some teams. When I finished the test, I had 40 more minutes until the examiner announces the 10th question. It was the perfect amount of time to take a short nap, so that's exactly what I did. Chunin exams 1. 10th question and a sadistic snake. I woke up by Ibiki shouting, "Put your pencils down." I'll admit, it wasn't the best way to wake up, but it was better than being waked up by Anko. I'll now announce the 10th question. Before I announce it, you have a chance to quit. If you quit, you and your teammates would be disqualified. Why would we do that? A random Genin questioned. If you get this question wrong, you won't be able to become a Chunin forever. The Genins protested by saying it was unfair, but they were quickly interrupted by Ibiki saying, "But if you quit, you'll be able to apply for the Chunin exams again. If you choose to quit, raise your hand." After that, many students raised their hand and walked out of the room with a sad face, apologizing to their teammates. This continued until everyone who were left didn't put their hand up. The head of TNI waited a bit so they can think before saying, "You pass." "What?" Temari asks. The point of the test to gather information sneakily without getting caught. You all did just that. So congratulations. Everyone was still a bit confused, but didn't say anything because they were glad they passed. The happiness came to an end by a window. A purple-haired lady wearing revealing clothes crashed into the window. She scared through the number of people left in the room. Her eyes landed on me and her normal smile turned into a sadistic one before continuing her skin around the room with her crazy smile fading. Ibiki, are you getting soft? No, it's just that this year's Genin are pretty impressive. I don't believe you, she says bluntly while Ibiki was left dumbfounded. Anyways, my name is Mitarashi Anko. I'll be your second proctor for this exam. Follow me. She jumped out of the shattered window and started hopping of trees. The others followed after her, and soon after, it was just me and Ibiki. Aren't you gonna follow? I will, but. I put my hand in my pocket, trying to find Kabuto's card before taking it out and giving it to him. Here, what's this? He asks while taking the card. Read it and take it to Hokage-sama. I'll explain later. He looked confused as I jumped out of the window and hopped on tree branches to catch up to the rest. I sped through the maze of trees and stopped when I saw a bunch of Genins standing in front of the former ANBU snake. When I arrived, she was already giving out the consent forms. I sighed knowing what's going to happen. She appeared behind me with a kunai pressing against the front of my neck. She had a wide grin while saying, "How nice of you to join us, Naruto-kun." Some Genins gasped while some others looked frightened. It is, isn't it, Anko? She released me with a chuckle and handed me a consent form like she did to the others. I walked over to Sasuke and Sakura. Sakura took my form and went to the tent to receive a scroll. We got an earth scroll, she says with a little excitement. Naruto, since you weren't here, do you know the rules? Sasuke asked. Yep, I know them, I said with a smile. His cheeks turned to a faint color of pink and replied, okay. We went to our assigned gate and waited for them to open. Suddenly, a loud bell rang and the old-looking gated creaked open. We ran before it fully opened to get a head start and ran through the deadly forest. We traveled through the thick trees, trying to find teams that could have a heaven scroll. After a while of running, my teammates got a little tired and needed rest. We stopped at a clearing. Many trees and vines surrounded it, which made it a good place to fight because there wouldn't be anything to block your attacks. Since they needed a break and I still have lots of energy to waste, I told my team, I'm going to explore for a bit to see if there are any teams nearby. Okay, thanks, the two said. Third POV. He walked off, thinking they'd be safe enough, but he forgot that being cautious was a priority when going into the forest of death. Naruto explored the perimeter of the clearing, hoping to find a team with a heaven scroll. Though he did find something, it wasn't what he expected. A giant snake attacked him. It lunged itself towards him and opened its mouth, ready to swallow him whole. Naruto jumped back just enough so it wouldn't put him in its mouth. This snake isn't from this training ground, I thought to Kurama. You're right. It's probably Orochimaru's doing. The overgrown fox commented, Orochimaru's here already? If my hunch is correct, then yes, I need to report this to Hokage-sama right away. You wouldn't be able to, so hold on. You should report it after the 2 parts of the exam are done. You're right. Thanks. No problem, Kit, he says. I continued to fight the snake. I punched its long body, making it fall. It got up quickly, almost biting me as it did. I eventually won by stabbing it in the throat. Even if I've won, I didn't waste any time congratulating myself. I raced towards my teammates because if Kurama was correct, they would be in big trouble. I rushed back to see Orochimaru extending his neck and biting Sasuke between the neck and shoulders. A seal formed while the snake sand and shortened his neck and disappeared, leaving a heaven scroll behind. Sasuke collapsed and landed on the ground with a thud. After, I quickly ran towards him and picked him up. Sakura, what happened? I asked while panicking. We were resting, but then, that snake-like guy came and started to attack us. A terrified Sakura said. I didn't think he'd make a move so quickly. Me too. You should tell the old man as soon as you get the chance, kid. Kurama says. I will, but I should focus on getting my teammates to a safe place first. I picked the heaven scroll Orochimaru left and told Sakura to follow me, saying I'll protect her even if it costs my own life to calm her a little. We walked to the middle of the deadly forest to pass the test. On the way, a couple of teams tried to steal our scrolls, but I quickly defeated them to get to the tower quickly. I wanted to get there as soon as possible because Orochimaru could come and attack again, which wouldn't be safe for us because even I wouldn't have a chance against him. We arrived to the tower and went inside. I sighed a breath of relief because I wouldn't need to worry as much. I opened both of the scrolls and Chunin exams too. Preliminaries. I opened both of the scrolls and Irika-sensei, Sakura shouted. Good job on passing, he says with an eye smile. He opened his eyes and turned to look at the 3 of us. When his eyes landed on Sasuke, his face changed to him being proud to being concerned. What happened to Sasuke? Is he okay? He asks worryingly. I don't know either, Sakura says sadly. Knowing that it's best if I don't speak about Orochimaru's plan to attack Konoha, I said, he was attacked and passed out. He nodded slowly and showed us the way to a large room where the other Genins were. Congratulations on passing the second part of the exam. Since there are too much people, we're going to cut the number in half by doing a preliminary, Hokage-sama said. A few groans and sighs were heard, but when it was over, he continued. If you choose to quit, please raise your hand. No one raised their hand except one. It was Kabuto. Sorry guys, he said to his teammates. I don't feel like I can fight right now. While this was happening, I was thinking, why is Kabuto quitting? Is it an order? Is he and Orochimaru working together? Hokage-sama nodded his head and dismissed him. Once Kabuto left, he explained the rules. Third POV. When he finished, one of the 2 boards started going through names until it stopped on one. Uchiha Sasuke. The second board did the same. It went through everyone's name, and after a few seconds, it stopped. Akato Yoroi. Everyone left the arena, and the 2 began to fight. After a while of fighting, Sasuke managed to overpower Yoroi and won. The medics took Yoroi away and asked Sasuke to tag along so they could treat his injuries, but he refused. Instead, he left with Kakashi and went to a room to seal his curse mark seal Orochimaru gave him. Sasuke went up the stairs while the board went through names. Haruno Sakura, Yamanaka Ino. The two looked a little sad that they had to fight each other, but went down anyway. Meanwhile, Kakashi leads Sasuke to a room to seal his curse mark. The Yamanaka and Haruno were on the same level when they fought, so at the end, it ended with the two fainting, making the fight tied. Naruto walked back up the stairs. He just went against Kiba, who was being taken away by the medics. There were two people left, Sabaku no Gaara and Rock Lee. They stood in the arena, getting ready to fight as soon as the Chunin says, "Begin." Once he said it, they jumped back, waiting to see who would attack first. The fight was getting more violent every second. Gaara, being the stronger one, was easily overpowering Lee to the point where he was about to kill him using his sand coffin. Just as his sand was going to crush him to death, he was stopped by a strong hand grabbing his wrist and flinging him backwards, making his sand loosen and letting Lee free. It was Naruto. He sunshed into the arena to save Lee just before he got crushed. Gaara got up, glaring at the other Jinchuriki while his sand swirled around him. The Chunin was relieved that the mini version of Guy didn't get killed and said the match was over and Gaara won. Gaara went up the stairs, annoyed that he was stopped from killing his prey. After that, all the matches were over, so the Hokage called everyone who won to the arena. He explained the 1 month they have to train and improve their skills they already have. Next, he signaled to a Chunin to come over. The Chunin was carrying a box and told everyone to pick a piece of paper inside of it. Everyone did as they were told, and when everyone had a piece of paper in their hands, the Chunin showed a board that contained the names of everyone's opponents. Naruto scanned for his name. When he found it, he looked at the name next to it, Sabaku no Gaara. At the back of his mind, he heard a grunt coming from Kurama. Out of all names you could possibly get, you had to get the brat that holds Shikaku. The Kitsune complained. "It's not like I could choose," his jailer pouted. I know, Kurama sighed, thinking about the tanuki screeching for the millionth time. Their conversation was cut off by the Hokage saying, "You're dismissed," to the few Genins that remained. Everyone left to go train for the finals except for Naruto. He had to report to his leader about the events that happened during the first 2 parts of the exam. A no was heard behind the Hokage's office door. He just arrived to his office and he thought he could relax for a while, but not a second later he was needed. Again, the first person that needed him was Dragon. He wanted to discuss the security for 3rd part of the exam since Orochimaru was suspected to attack. He was still in the room when the second person knocked. Hokage-sama let the person in and told Dragon to stay. The door opened and Kitsune came in and bowed. "Hokage-sama," he said in a monotone, "I have something to report." The ANBU said before quickly continuing, "It's about Orochimaru." Knowing it'll catch Hokage-sama and Dragon-sama's attention. In a serious tone, Hiruzen asks, "What is it?" "Orochimaru is in Konoha," he says, getting to the point. "Already? Are you sure?" "Yes, he attacked Uchiha Sasuke and gave him a seal," he said a little sadly, which went unnoticed by the 2 others in the room. Before he could continue, Dragon said, "You let Sasuke get injured?" "Yes. Your mission was to protect the Uchiha," he says in a stern voice, making his usual calm attitude fade away. "Though I agree with you, I think you're a little too harsh on Kitsune, Dragon," Sandaime-sama says. The commander sighed and said, "I guess you're right. I'm sorry, Kitsune," returning to his less scary attitude. But before Naruto thought he was let off, his commander continued, "Although I was being too strict, you still need a punishment for it, right?" He said, being sadistic, which made him think that all ANBUs are turning crazy. "You'll be taking a different mission tomorrow. It's to catch the daimyo's wife's cat, Tora," he said, smiling. I walked out of the office, regretting everything that happened in the past few days. Chunin Exams 3. The start of Konoha's attack. Naruto's POV. I held the demon cat by the scruff of its neck, far away from me, so it wouldn't make me get more whiskers. I sunched into the Hokage's office and handed the cat to the daimyo's wife. I happily walked away as the cat got squished to death. I received my payment and decided to check on Sasuke's training with Kakashi. When I arrived, I saw Kakashi making a Chidori while Sasuke's eyes turned to a Sharingan. When they noticed me, Kakashi walked towards me and asked, "Naruto, why are you here?" "No reason. I had nothing to do, so I'm just checking on Sasuke's training," I said while smiling at Sasuke. He nodded and returned to Sasuke, who was failing to make a Chidori. I watched them for a couple of hours and finally, a spark managed to appear above Duckbutt's hand. Just before I was going to congratulate him, a sudden pain shot through my arm. Knowing what it meant, I sunshined away, leaving a confused Kakashi and Sasuke. There was an hour before the finals takes place and Hokage-sama and Dragon-sama were torturing me. After my mission, first ANBU mission of this month, I kept getting more. It wasn't like before, where I had a mission almost every few days, but instead, I kept getting the same mission. Though I understand that the village was going to be attacked, it doesn't mean they can give me the same mission over and over again. To make things worse, the missions were border patrol. Stop your rambling, kid. I'm trying to sleep. But I get it. Border patrol is the worst, but please be quiet. At least for an hour. Okay, I pouted. I walked to the locker room in the ANBU base and changed back to my normal clothes. Then, I decided that it'll be best to arrive to the arena early to scout the area in case of enemies. When I got there were barely anyone in the seats. I stayed in the shadows, walking around the perimeter of the arena, and when I was done, there wasn't anyone hiding there. By the time I decided to come out, everyone was there except Sasuke. I got worried because Orochimaru might have got to him already, but I didn't check on him because the proctor was explaining the rules to us. When he was done, he called for the first pair to start while the others went upstairs to see. Meanwhile, I went to the training area Sasuke usually goes to. I sunshined there and I saw Kakashi reading his book and Sasuke creating another Chidori. Kakashi, Sasuke is up next, so you should rest and go to the arena. They turned to me and Sasuke said, "No, I need to train more. If you keep wasting your energy, you won't have much left to fight Neji. Give me 20 minutes. Fine." I watched as Sasuke kept pushing himself. I was eagerly waiting for the 20 minutes to be up so he can finally rest. After 20 minutes, I got back up and shouted over the loud Chidori, "Sasuke, time's up." He painted and grunted an okay before running towards me. On the way, I scolded him for wasting more energy since he'd need a lot of it to win. The examiner was waiting for the Uchiha to arrive. He had received orders by the Hokage to wait for a few minutes or else Sasuke will get disqualified. Just as he was about to announce Sasuke's disqualification, he appeared with Kakashi. The proctor sighed and thought that copy ninja is influencing him. We don't need another Kakashi. He then hurriedly shoots Sasuke's sensei and started the match. He sunshined to his pink-haired student to watch while I did the same, but sunshined to another area where the contestants were. While watching Sasuke's match, I was on guard in case the snake's attack started early. Though it was reported that the attack would start when it was Gaara's turn to fight, it might start earlier. Although the surprise attack on Konoha was a major concern, I was ordered to continue my mission to protect and guard Sasuke. I kept a close eye on the Uchiha while he was fighting Neji. He didn't regain his energy on the way back, and Neji was most likely stronger than Sasuke. As I watched, I heard Neji shout, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. He kept overpowering Sasuke, and once he shouted the 64th palm, I thought that would be it and Sasuke would be defeated, but to my surprise, Neji continued with a jab that was going in front of Sasuke's heart. I flashed in front of Sasuke and caught his wrist with glaring eyes. He glared back while the proctor announced Neji as the winner. Sasuke fell on his knees from Neji's 64 palms. I helped him get up and followed the medics who lead us to a room. I stayed with the Raven until they were done treating him. When they left, I asked, "Sasuke, are you okay? You look worried." "I'm fine." "You should be the one worrying. Your match is with the red-haired guy." "I'll be all right. I'm an ANBU after all," I said with a smile. He smiled back, and we stayed in a comfortable silence. We stayed like that until I heard my name being called. I said goodbye to Sasuke and sunshined to the arena. Third POV. It was the last fight for the first round, so Naruto wanted to keep this fight as long as possible, so he waited for his opponent to attack first. Gaara didn't attack so the fight turned into a staring contest with lots of killer intent leaking off of the two. After a screech from Shikaku, Gaara finally attacked. Sand shot at Naruto with a simple lift of an arm, and Naruto jumped back a couple meters to avoid them. Shikaku desperately wanted to prove to Kurama that he was superior to him, so he told, or you could say, forced Gaara to go all out. Sand spikes were created in an instant and tried to stab Naruto, but he easily dodged. Even though you're helping your host, you still can't beat mine who isn't even using my power. The fox mocked. Shut up. At least I'm not in a sewer. Calm down, Kurama. If you keep fighting, the attack might start early, Naruto said, feeling his friend's anger rise. Kurama didn't hear what Naruto said and growled. You're the one who pretends to be a mother. The Tanuki snapped. He took control of Gaara's body, and with his eyes now yellow with slits, he went on all fours and ran towards Naruto. With Gaara's enhanced speed and strength, he almost slashed Naruto, but he barely dodged in time, leaving 3 thin cuts on his cheek. Now realizing his mistake, Kurama said, Naruto, let me help. The controlled Gaara leaped again and tried to punch Naruto, but it was avoided by his hand that had Kurama's chakra surrounding it. Naruto caught his hand and punched back, throwing him across the arena. Why didn't the sand block me? Naruto thought. My chakra can destroy many things and sand is one of them. He quickly said. After the punch, Gaara screamed and his sand surrounded him, making a circle. While his sand covered him, feathers fell from the sky, making the civilians fall asleep. The sand covering Gaara disappeared, and he jumped out of the arena looking like a madman. Chunin Exams 4. Exposed Identity. Gaara ran out of the arena with a crazed look, and knowing this was the start of Orochimaru's plan, Naruto jumped to Sasuke, who was with Kakashi. He took out a kunai from his pouch and took a defensive stance in front of Sasuke with a serious face. Naruto? What are you doing? We need to follow him. No, you need to stay here. I'll protect you. Hearing Naruto's last sentence made him blush, but he shook it away because it wasn't the time for that. Why do I need to stay? I can help and you know it. He says urgently. It's for your safety. Orochimaru might kidnap you if I leave your side. Who's Orochimaru, and what do you mean by kidnap? I'll tell to you later, but now, dash. Naruto stopped when all of the Konoha shinobi that were fighting in the finals went up the stairs towards them. Now, all of the rookies, including Guy's team, and their senseis were there. What's happening? Shino asks. There's been an invasion. Kurenai sensei responded. Shikamaru can think of a plan? The former ANBU asked. He nodded, but just before he could put his brain to work, a shinobi from Sound ran towards Sasuke, who was on the right from the group. The Sound shinobi hit his chakra well, and with all the panic and confusion, it was hard to discover him, but luckily, Naruto was already in front of Sasuke with his defensive stance, so he took the shinobi down with a simple chop in the back of his neck. He placed the body of the floor with a released sigh. That shinobi looked like he is aiming at Sasuke. Shikamaru observed. Before he could assume more, a Sunshin appeared in the arena. After that Sunshin, 20 others followed along. All heads turned to the 21 ANBUs that filled the arena. Naruto's eyes went slightly wide at this. He didn't expect Dragon-sama to appear out in the open. He looked at him, and with his commander's nod for confirmation, Naruto told Kakashi, I'm leaving Sasuke to you. After Naruto said that sentence, Shikamaru wondered what he meant, but he watched as Naruto sunshined away. The undercover ANBU appeared in the arena, surprising everyone but Team 7. The boy knelt down in front of his commander with the other ANBU captains and his head facing the floor. Uchiha, Dragon started. I've seen your skills, so I hereby promote you to the rank. Chunin. Kitsune, you know what this means. Yes, Naruto firmly said without emotion. Good. Then, he began assigning places for the ANBU teams to defend. He eventually got to the last team. Team Lion. Team Lion, you will attack the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Yes, they said in unison. Lion, Dragon-sama addressed. Kitsune will take over your rank for this mission. You'll take orders from him. Got it? Yes, the guy with a lion-like mask said. Dismissed. They sunshined to their target, but Dragon called Naruto to stay. He walked over and gave him his fox-like mask. Kitsune bowed and left after putting it on. Shikamaru was left dumbfounded. He had been suspicious about Naruto's L strength for a while, but him being an ANBU was far from what he was thinking. He wasn't the only one, though. Everyone else were left in confusion. They kept asking Team 7 if they knew about this, and when the three nodded, they were asking endless questions to them. Kitsune jumped through the trees with his team. After he'd left with his mask, he wanted to get to Gaara as soon as he can after being informed by Kurama that Shikaku would just continue to leak his chakra, which made the seal weaker. He stood in front of a giant tanuki rambling about finally being free, though no one could hear him besides Kitsune, Kurama, and his host. Kitsune told the ANBUs to surround the Bijou and tie him with ninja wires. Knowing it wasn't enough to defeat Shikaku, he added explosive tags in hopes that it'll do some kind of damage. Team Lion and Kitsune jumped back after triggering the explosive tags. Not wasting any time, they continued with their attacks. No matter what they did, it seemed to be useless since the beast keeps getting stronger every minute. Everyone is losing their energy too. Naruto was about to lose hope when Kurama offered his help. Naruto quickly accepted and red chakra engulfed him. His comrades stood in amazement. After all, watching two Jinchurikis fight each other were once in a lifetime. They didn't slack off though. They helped Kitsune with more explosive tags because they seemed to do the most damage after other than ninjutsu, but their chakra reserves were low, so that wasn't an option. Naruto stood in all fours with 3 chakra tails swinging ferociously behind him. Once he pounced towards the tanuki, his comrades joined in, and at the end, they barely managed to defist him. An unconscious Gaara laid in a giant clearing created by Shikaku. The temporary Taicho for Team Lion picked Gaara up, and they tirelessly sunshined to their commander. Dragon was in the arena, giving orders to the other shinobis and helping the evacuation for the unconscious civilians. Dragon gave the red-haired boy to another ANBU before dismissing them. Team Lion were the last to finish their task, so there wasn't much for them to do, so they went to the base to get their wounds healed. While his wounds were healing, Kurama was speaking to Naruto. Kid, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think you should quit being an ANBU. What? Why? I've seen how much you've changed since you've started this mission. I think it's time you live a normal life where you don't take life-threatening missions. Naruto stayed silent for a while. He did agree with Kurama, though. He knew he changed drastically over the 5-year mission to protect Sasuke. If he decided to quit, it wouldn't be like he'd be living a whole different life. Naruto was already used to being a Genin, so it wouldn't affect him. He considered this for a while, and once he came up with his decision, his injuries were already healed. While telling his decision to Kurama, he respected his opinion and supported it without question. At the end, Naruto was going to miss his comrades, but he knew it was the best decision to make. Chapter 13. The Start of a New Life. Naruto stood in front of the dragon's desk in his ANBU gear. It had been a few days since the attack, and Naruto's classmates, Team Guy, and their senseis were bothering him with questions. Ever since he revealed Kitsune's identity to them, they've been going to his office demanding answers. He finally gave in and called for Naruto through his ANBU tattoo. Since Naruto thought it was a mission, he put on his gear, but when he knelt in front of Dragon, he realized it was something else. Dragon telling him to rise, Naruto stood up and looked around confusingly. The commander told him to take off his mask, and when he did, Dragon told him to explain his rank and why he became Genin. Naruto's POV. I knew this was coming, but I couldn't help myself from sighing. Hello. As you already know, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. It isn't my full name, but it's confidential. You probably figured it out that I'm an ANBU. My code name is Kitsune, and I'm the Taicho of Team Ro. The reason I became Genin is because I got a mission. That mission was to protect Sasuke because people would target him for his Sharingan. I would continue this mission until he becomes Chunin, and since he is now the rank of Chunin, this mission has ended. I'm sorry for lying to all of you. I explained as I dipped my head at the last sentence. Team 7, knowing what this means, looked sad even though they knew it would happen someday. Sasuke asked a bit angrily, "So you'll leave Team 7? Just like that?" Sasuke, Naruto has been an ANBU for a long time. He dash. Kakashi and it's fine. I said guiltily. Dragon-sama decided to change the subject as it would eventually go downhill if the current conversion continues. You've all been told an S-class secret. You should know this information is confidential, and if you tell anyone, there will be consequences, so I ask you to please keep this conversation inside this room. Everyone turned their attention to the ANBU and nodded. Feeling like this would be a good way to end the meeting, he thanked them for their time and dismissed them. I walked through the streets of Konoha. My rank was revealed 2 days ago, and Sasuke's been distant since. I felt bad, but I didn't know how to get closer to him. I've also been thinking of how to voice my decision to Dragon-sama, but I can't find a way. I would just tell him if you ask me. Kurama helped. Easy for you to say. Randomly telling him wouldn't be good. I've served the ANBU for 8 years after all. He sighed. Why did this need to get so complicated? I stopped at Training Ground 7. Sasuke and Sakura were getting trained by Kakashi there. When I walked up to them, Sasuke says, "Naruto, why are you here? I thought you'd be taking ANBU missions." Sakura elbowed him for being petty and greeted me while doing so. Sasuke, I never said I was going to leave Team 7. You said your mission ended. I did say that, but I didn't say I'd continue being an ANBU. He looked shocked, but if you looked closely, you could see the sparkle in his eyes. I went closer to him and said, I'd never leave the people I care for. While smiling, Sasuke's eyes softened at me, and he leaned forward, but an oblivious Sakura interrupted by saying, "That's great. We thought you were going to just leave us." I chuckled while Sasuke grunted for ruining the moment. I felt a burn on my arm, so I told my teammates and sensei, "Sorry, but I got to go. Dragon-sama is calling me." "I thought you quitted the ANBU?" Sasuke asked. "I did. I just didn't tell Dragon-sama yet." Kakashi deadpanned and said, "That means you're still an ANBU." Naruto. "It doesn't matter." I pouted, which made Sasuke turn into the shade of his favorite food. I quickly left after that, so I won't make Dragon-sama wait too long. On the way, Kurama thought of an opportunity to tell Dragon about quitting being an ANBU and suggested, "Kid, you could tell him now." "What do you mean?" "Dragon is calling for you. It's probably a mission, so just say you can't do it and tell him why." "It isn't the best idea, but it's better than nothing, I guess." "Thanks, no problem." I sunched into Dragon-sana's office. He was going to say something, but I interrupted, which broke one of the many rules, so I was hoping I wouldn't get in trouble. "Dragon-sama." He looked confused, but he let me continue. "I'm sorry for interrupting, but I've been wanting to tell you something." I took off my mask and said, "I'm quitting being an ANBU. I respect your opinion, but may I ask why?" "My mission was to guard Sasuke, and on that mission, I've made friends and found love, and I don't want to abandon those so easily. Please let me rejoin Team 7 as a Genin." Dragon-sama nodded and said, "I understand, Naruto. You'll rejoin Team 7 as an elite Jonin and work with Kakashi as their senseis. Thank you, Dragon-sama. I bowed. I should be the one thanking you. You have served us well. My final order as your commander is to continue your work in the light and make a name for yourself. You will never be forgotten. Konoha's Kitsune.